Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning God created heaven and earth. Now the earth was a formless void. There was darkness over the deep, with a divine wind sweeping over the waters. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that light was good, and God divided light from darkness. God called light day, and darkness he called night. Evening came and morning came, the first day. God said, "Let there be a vault through the middle of the waters to divide the waters in two," and so it was. God made the vault, and it divided the waters under the vault from the waters above the vault. God called the vault heaven. Evening came and morning came, the second day. God said, "Let the waters under heaven come together into a single mass, and let dry land appear." And so it was. God called the dry land earth and the mass of waters seas. And God saw that it was good. God said, "Let the earth produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and fruit trees on earth, bearing fruit with their seed inside, each corresponding to its own species." And so it was. The earth produced vegetation, the various kinds of seed-bearing plants and the fruit trees with seed inside, each corresponding to its own species. God saw that it was good. Evening came and morning came, the third day. God said, "Let there be lights in the vault of heaven to divide day from night, and let them indicate festivals, days and years. Let them be lights in the vault of heaven to shine on the earth." And so it was. God made the two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, the smaller light to govern the night, and the stars. God set them in the vault of heaven to shine on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to divide light from darkness. God saw that it was good. Evening came and morning came, the fourth day. God said, "Let the waters be alive with a swarm of living creatures, and let birds wing their way above the earth across the vault of heaven." And so it was. God created great sea monsters and all the creatures that glide and teem in the waters in their own species, and winged birds in their own species. God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the waters of the seas, and let the birds multiply on land." Evening came and morning came, the fifth day. God said, "Let the earth produce every kind of living creature in its own species, cattle, creeping things, and wild animals of all kinds." And so it was. God made wild animals in their own species, and cattle in theirs, and every creature that crawls along the earth in its own species. God saw that it was good. God said, "Let us make man in our own image, in the likeness of ourselves, and let them be masters of the fish of the sea, the birds of heaven, the cattle, all the wild animals, and all the creatures that creep along the ground." God created man in the image of himself. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. God blessed them, saying to them, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Be masters of the fish of the sea, the birds of heaven, and all the living creatures that move on earth." God also said, "Look, to you I give all the seed-bearing plants everywhere on the surface of the earth, and all the trees with seed-bearing fruit. This will be your food. And to all the wild animals, all the birds of heaven, and all the living creatures that creep along the ground, I give all the foliage of the plants as their food." And so it was. God saw all he had made, and indeed it was very good. Evening came and morning came, the sixth day. Genesis chapter 2. Thus heaven and earth were completed with all their array. On the seventh day God had completed the work he had been doing. He rested on the seventh day after all the work he had been doing. God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on that day he rested after all his work of creating. Such was the story of heaven and earth as they were created. At the time when Yahweh God made earth and heaven, there was as yet no wild bush on the earth, nor had any wild plant yet sprung up. For Yahweh God had not sent rain on the earth, nor was there any man to till the soil. Instead, water flowed out of the ground and watered all the surface of the soil. Yahweh God shaped man from the soil of the ground and blew the breath of life into his nostrils, and man became a living being. Yahweh God planted a garden in Eden, which is in the east, and there he put the man he had fashioned. From the soil, Yahweh God caused to grow every kind of tree, enticing to look at and good to eat, with a tree of life in the middle of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. A river flowed from Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided to make 4 streams. The first is named the Pishon, and this winds all through the land of Havilah where there is gold. The gold of this country is pure. Bdellium and cornelian stone are found there. The second river is named the Gin, and this winds all through the land of Cush. The third river is named the Tigris, and this flows to the east of Ashur. The fourth river is the Euphrates. Yahweh God took the man and settled him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and take care of it. Then Yahweh God gave the man this command: "You are free to eat of all the trees in the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you are not to eat. For the day you eat of that, you are doomed to die." Yahweh God said, "It is not right that the man should be alone. I shall make him a helper." So from the soil Yahweh God fashioned all the wild animals and all the birds of heaven. These he brought to the man to see what he would call them. Each one was to bear the name the man would give it. The man gave names to all the cattle, all the birds of heaven and all the wild animals. But no helper suitable for the man was found for him. Then Yahweh God made the man fall into a deep sleep, and while he was asleep, he took one of his ribs and closed the flesh up again forthwith. Yahweh God fashioned the rib he had taken from the man into a woman, and brought her to the man. And the man said, "This one at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She is to be called woman, because she was taken from man." This is why a man leaves his father and mother and becomes attached to his wife, and they become one flesh. Now, both of them were naked, the man and his wife, but they felt no shame before each other. Genesis chapter 3. Now, the snake was the most subtle of all the wild animals that Yahweh God had made. It asked the woman, "Did God really say you were not to eat from any of the trees in the garden?" The woman answered the snake, "We may eat the fruit of the trees in the garden. But of the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden God said, 'You must not eat it, nor touch it, under pain of death.'" Then the snake said to the woman, "No, you will not die. God knows in fact that the day you eat it your eyes will be opened, and you will be like gods, knowing good from evil." The woman saw that the tree was good to eat and pleasing to the eye, and that it was enticing for the wisdom that it could give. So she took some of its fruit and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together to make themselves loincloths. The man and his wife heard the sound of Yahweh God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and they hid from Yahweh God among the trees of the garden. But Yahweh God called to the man. "Where are you?" he asked. "I heard the sound of you in the garden," he replied. "I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." "Who told you that you were naked?" he asked. "Have you been eating from the tree I forbade you to eat?" The man replied, "It was the woman you put with me. She gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it." Then Yahweh God said to the woman, "Why did you do that?" The woman replied, "The snake tempted me and I ate." Then Yahweh God said to the snake, "Because you have done this, accursed be you of all animals wild and tame. On your belly you will go, and on dust you will feed as long as you live. I shall put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. It will bruise your head and you will strike its heel." To the woman he said, "I shall give you intense pain in childbearing. You will give birth to your children in pain. Your yearning will be for your husband, and he will dominate you." To the man he said, Because you listened to the voice of your wife and ate from the tree of which I had forbidden you to eat. Accursed be the soil because of you. Painfully will you get your food from it as long as you live. It will yield you brambles and thistles, as you eat the produce of the land. By the sweat of your face will you earn your food, until you return to the ground, as you were taken from it. For dust you are, and to dust you shall return. The man named his wife Eve, because she was the mother of all those who live. Yahweh God made tunics of skins for the man and his wife and clothed them. Then Yahweh God said, Now that the man has become like one of us in knowing good from evil, he must not be allowed to reach out his hand and pick from the tree of life too, and eat and live forever. So Yahweh God expelled him from the Garden of Eden, to till the soil from which he had been taken. He banished the man, and in front of the Garden of Eden he posted the great winged creatures and the fiery flashing sword, to guard the way to the tree of life. Genesis chapter 4. The man had intercourse with his wife Eve, and she conceived and gave birth to Cain. I have acquired a man with the help of Yahweh, she said. She gave birth to a second child, Abel, the brother of Cain. Now Abel became a shepherd and kept flocks, while Cain tilled the soil. Time passed, and Cain brought some of the produce of the soil as an offering for Yahweh, while Abel for his part brought the firstborn of his flock and some of their fat as well. Yahweh looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but he did not look with favor on Cain and his offering, and Cain was very angry and downcast. Yahweh asked Cain, Why are you angry and downcast? If you are doing right, surely you ought to hold your head high. But if you are not doing right, sin is crouching at the door, hungry to get you. You can still master him. Cain said to his brother Abel, Let us go out. And while they were in the open country, Cain set on his brother Abel and killed him. Yahweh asked Cain, Where is your brother Abel? I do not know, he replied. Am I my brother's guardian? What have you done? Yahweh asked, Listen, your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. Now be cursed and banned from the ground that has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood at your hands. When you till the ground, it will no longer yield up its strength to you. A restless wanderer you will be on earth. Cain then said to Yahweh, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Look, today you drive me from the surface of the earth. I must hide from you, and be a restless wanderer on earth. Why, whoever comes across me will kill me. Very well then, Yahweh replied. Whoever kills Cain will suffer a sevenfold vengeance. So Yahweh put a mark on Cain, so that no one coming across him would kill him. Cain left Yahweh's presence and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain had intercourse with his wife, and she conceived and gave birth to Enoch. He became the founder of a city and gave the city the name of his son Enoch. Enoch fathered Irad, and Irad fathered Mehujael. Mehujael fathered Methushel, and Methushel fathered Lamech. Lamech married 2 women. The name of the first was Adah, and the name of the second was Zillah. Adah gave birth to Jabal. He was the ancestor of tent-dwelling herdsmen. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the ancestor of all who play the harp and the pipe. As for Zillah, she gave birth to Tubal-Cain. He was the ancestor of all who work copper and iron. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Adah and Zillah, Hear my voice. Wives of Lamech, listen to what I say. I killed a man for wounding me, a boy for striking me. 7-fold vengeance for Cain, but 77-fold for Lamech. Adam had intercourse with his wife, and she gave birth to a son whom she named Seth. Because God has granted me other offspring, she said, in place of Abel, since Cain has killed him. A son was also born to Seth, and he named him Enosh. This man was the first to invoke the name Yahweh. Genesis chapter 5. This is the roll of Adam's descendants. On the day that God created Adam, he made him in the likeness of God. Male and female he created them. He blessed them and gave them the name man, when they were created. When Adam was 130 years old, he fathered a son, in his likeness, after his image, and he called him Seth. Adam lived for 800 years after the birth of Seth, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Adam lived for 930 years. Then he died. When Seth was 105 years old, he fathered Enosh. After the birth of Enosh, Seth lived for 807 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Seth lived for 912 years. Then he died. When Enosh was 90 years old, he fathered Kenan. After the birth of Kenan, Enosh lived for 815 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Enosh lived for 905 years. Then he died. When Kenan was 70 years old, he fathered Mahalalel. After the birth of Mahalalel, Kenan lived for 840 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Kenan lived for 910 years. Then he died. When Mahalalel was 65 years old, he fathered Jared. After the birth of Jared, Mahalalel lived for 830 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Mahalalel lived for 895 years. Then he died. When Jared was 162 years old, he fathered Enoch. After the birth of Enoch, Jared lived for 800 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Jared lived for 962 years. Then he died. When Enoch was 65 years old, he fathered Methuselah. Enoch walked with God. After the birth of Methuselah, Enoch lived for 300 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Enoch lived for 365 years. Enoch walked with God, then was no more, because God took him. When Methuselah was 187 years old, he fathered Lamech. After the birth of Lamech, Methuselah lived for 782 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Methuselah lived for 969 years. Then he died. When Lamech was 182 years old, he fathered a son. He gave him the name Noah because he said, "Here is one who will give us, in the midst of our toil and the laboring of our hands, a consolation out of the very soil that Yahweh cursed." After the birth of Noah, Lamech lived for 595 years and fathered sons and daughters. In all, Lamech lived for 777 years. Then he died. When Noah was 500 years old, he fathered Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Genesis chapter 6. When people began being numerous on earth, and daughters had been born to them, the sons of God, looking at the women, saw how beautiful they were and married as many of them as they chose. Yahweh said, "My spirit cannot be indefinitely responsible for human beings, who are only flesh. Let the time allowed each be 120 years. The Nephilim were on earth in those days, and even afterwards, when the sons of God resorted to the women, and had children by them. These were the heroes of days gone by, men of renown. Yahweh saw that human wickedness was great on earth, and that human hearts contrived nothing but wicked schemes all day long. Yahweh regretted having made human beings on earth, and was grieved at heart. And Yahweh said, I shall rid the surface of the earth of the human beings whom I created, human and animal, the creeping things and the birds of heaven, for I regret having made them. But Noah won Yahweh's favor. This is the story of Noah. Noah was a good man, an upright man among his contemporaries, and he walked with God. Noah fathered 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. God saw that the earth was corrupt and full of lawlessness. God looked at the earth. It was corrupt, for corrupt were the ways of all living things on earth. God said to Noah, I have decided that the end has come for all living things, for the earth is full of lawlessness because of human beings. So I am now about to destroy them and the earth. Make yourself an ark out of resinous wood. Make it of reeds and caulk it with pitch inside and out. This is how to make it. The length of the ark is to be 300 cubits, its breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Make a roof to the ark, building it up to a cubit higher. Put the entrance in the side of the ark, which is to be made with lower, second, and third decks. For my part, when I'm going to send the flood, the waters on earth, to destroy all living things having the breath of life unto heaven. Everything on earth is to perish. But with you I shall establish my covenant, and you will go aboard the ark, yourself, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives along with you. From all living creatures, from all living things, you must take 2 of each kind aboard the ark, to save their lives with yours. They must be a male and a female. Of every species of bird, of every kind of animal, and of every kind of creature that creeps along the ground, 2 must go with you so that their lives may be saved. For your part, provide yourself with eatables of all kinds, and lay in a store of them, to serve as food for yourself and them. Noah did this. Exactly as God commanded him, he did. Genesis chapter 7. Yahweh said to Noah, Go aboard the ark, you and all your household, for you alone of your contemporaries do I see before me as an upright man. Of every clean animal you must take 7 pairs, a male and its female. Of the unclean animals you must take 1 pair, a male and its female. And of the birds of heaven, 7 pairs, a male and its female, to preserve their species throughout the earth. For in 7 days' time I shall make it rain on earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I shall wipe every creature I have made off the face of the earth. Noah did exactly as Yahweh commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood came, the waters over the earth. Noah with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives boarded the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Of the clean animals and the animals that are not clean, of the birds and all that creeps along the ground, 1 pair boarded the ark with Noah, 1 male and 1 female, as God had commanded Noah. 7 days later the waters of the flood appeared on earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, and on the 17th day of the month, that very day all the springs of the great deep burst through, and the sluices of heaven opened, and heavy rain fell on earth for 40 days and 40 nights. That very day Noah and his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth boarded the ark, with Noah's wife and the 3 wives of his sons, and with them every species of wild animal, every species of cattle, every species of creeping things that creep along the ground, every species of bird, everything that flies, everything with wings. 1 pair of all that was alive and had the breath of life boarded the ark with Noah, and those that went aboard were a male and female of all that was alive, as God had commanded him. Then Yahweh shut him in. The flood lasted 40 days on earth. The waters swelled, lifting the ark until it floated off the ground. The waters rose, swelling higher above the ground, and the ark drifted away over the waters. The waters rose higher and higher above the ground until all the highest mountains under the whole of heaven were submerged. The waters reached their peak 15 cubits above the submerged mountains, and all living things that stirred on earth perished. Birds, cattle, wild animals, all the creatures swarming over the earth, and all human beings. Everything with the least breath of life in its nostrils, everything on dry land, died. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out, people, animals, creeping things, and birds. They were wiped off the earth, and only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. The waters maintained their level on earth for 150 days. Genesis chapter 8. But God had Noah in mind, and all the wild animals and all the cattle that were with him in the ark. God sent a wind across the earth, and the waters began to subside. The springs of the deep and the sluices of heaven were stopped up, and the heavy rain from heaven was held back. Little by little, the waters ebbed from the earth. After 150 days the waters fell, and in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters gradually fell until the 10th month when, on the first day of the 10th month, the mountain tops appeared. At the end of 40 days Noah opened the window he had made in the ark and released a raven, which flew back and forth as it waited for the waters to dry up on earth. He then released a dove, to see whether the waters were receding from the surface of the earth. But the dove, finding nowhere to perch, returned to him in the ark, for there was water over the whole surface of the earth. Putting out his hand, he took hold of it and brought it back into the ark with him. After waiting 7 more days, he again released the dove from the ark. In the evening, the dove came back to him, and there in its beak was a freshly picked olive leaf. So Noah realized that the waters were receding from the earth. After waiting 7 more days, he released the dove, and now it returned to him no more. It was in the 601st year of Noah's life, in the 1st month and on the 1st of the month, that the waters began drying out on earth. Noah lifted back the hatch of the ark and looked out. The surface of the ground was dry. In the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you, your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives with you. Bring out all the animals with you, all living things, the birds, the cattle, and all the creeping things that creep along the ground, for them to swarm on earth, for them to breed and multiply on earth." So Noah came out with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives, and all the wild animals, all the cattle, all the birds, and all the creeping things that creep along the ground, came out of the ark, one species after another. Then Noah built an altar to Yahweh, and, choosing from all the clean animals and all the clean birds, he presented burnt offerings on the altar. Yahweh smelt the pleasing smell and said to himself, "Never again will I curse the earth because of human beings, because their heart contrives evil from their infancy. Never again will I strike down every living thing as I have done. As long as earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease." Genesis chapter 9. God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Breed, multiply and fill the earth. Be the terror and the dread of all the animals on land and all the birds of heaven, of everything that moves on land and all the fish of the sea. They are placed in your hands. Every living thing that moves will be yours to eat, no less than the foliage of the plants. I give you everything, with this exception. You must not eat flesh with life, that is to say blood, in it. And I shall demand account of your lifeblood too. I shall demand it of every animal, and of man as regards his fellow man. I shall demand account for human life. He who sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God was man created. Be fruitful then and multiply. Teem over the earth and subdue it." God spoke as follows to Noah and his sons, "I am now establishing my covenant with you and with your descendants to come, and with every living creature that was with you, birds, cattle, and every wild animal with you, everything that came out of the ark, every living thing on earth. And I shall maintain my covenant with you, that never again shall all living things be destroyed by the waters of a flood, nor shall there ever again be a flood to devastate the earth. And this, God said, is the sign of the covenant which I now make between myself and you and every living creature with you for all ages to come. I now set my bow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I gather the clouds over the earth and the bow appears in the clouds, I shall recall the covenant between myself and you and every living creature, in a word all living things, and never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all living things. When the bow is in the clouds, I shall see it and call to mind the eternal covenant between God and every living creature on earth, that is, all living things. That, God told Noah, is the sign of the covenant I have established between myself and all living things on earth. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Ham being the father of Canaan. These three were Noah's sons, and from these the whole earth was peopled. Noah, a tiller of the soil, was the first to plant the vine. He drank some of the wine, and while he was drunk, he lay uncovered in his tent. Ham, father of Canaan, saw his father naked and told his 2 brothers outside. Shem and Japheth took a cloak and they both put it over their shoulders, and walking backwards, covered their father's nakedness. They kept their faces turned away, and they did not look at their father naked. When Noah awoke from his stupor, he learned what his youngest son had done to him, and said, "Accursed be Canaan, he shall be his brother's meanest slave." He added, "Blessed be Yahweh, God of Shem, let Canaan be his slave. May God make space for Japheth, may he live in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his slave." After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. In all, Noah's life lasted 950 years. Then he died. Genesis chapter 10. These are the descendants of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, to whom sons were born after the flood. Japheth's sons: Gomer, Magog, the Medes, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, Tiras. Gomer's sons: Ashkenaz, Riphath, Togarmah. Javan's sons: Elishah, Tarshish, the Kittim, the Danaanites. From these came the dispersal to the islands of the nations. These were Japheth's sons, in their respective countries, each with its own language, by clan and nation. Ham's sons: Cush, Mizraim, Put, Canaan. Cush's sons: Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, Sabteka. Ramah's sons: Sheba, Dedan. Cush fathered Nimrod, who was the first potentate on earth. He was a mighty hunter in the eyes of Yahweh, hence the saying, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter in the eyes of Yahweh. The mainstays of his empire were Babel, Erech, and Akkad, all of them in the land of Shinar. From this country came Ashur, and he built Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah, this being the capital. Mizraim fathered the people of Lud, of Anam, Lehab, Naphtu, Pathros, Caslu, and Caphtor, from which the Philistines came. Canaan fathered Sidon, his firstborn, then Hate, and the Jebusites, the Amorites, Girgashites, Hivites, Archites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zemarites, and Hamathites. Later, the Canaanite clan spread out. The Canaanite frontier stretched from Sidon all the way to Gerar near Gaza, and all the way to Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim near Lisha. These were Ham's sons, by clans and languages, by countries and nations. Shem too fathered sons, being ancestor of all the sons of Eber and Japheth's elder brother. Shem's sons: Elam, Ashur, Arpachshad, Lud, Aram. Aram's sons: Uzi, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arpachshad fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Eber. To Eber were born 2 sons. The first was called Peleg, because it was in his time that the earth was divided, and his brother was called Joktan. Joktan fathered Almodad, Shalef, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadaram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, Jobab. All these were sons of Joktan. They occupied a stretch of country from Mesha all the way to Sephar, the eastern mountain range. These were Shem's sons, by clans and languages, by countries and nations. Such were the clans of Noah's descendants, listed by descent and nation. From them, other nations branched out on earth after the flood. Genesis chapter 11. The whole world spoke the same language, with the same vocabulary. Now, as people moved eastwards, they found a valley in the land of Shinar where they settled. They said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them in the fire." For stone they used bricks, and for mortar they used bitumen. "Come," they said, "let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top reaching heaven. Let us make a name for ourselves, so that we do not get scattered all over the world." Now Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower that the people had built. "So they are all a single people with a single language," said Yahweh. "This is only the start of their undertakings. Now nothing they plan to do will be beyond them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language there, so that they cannot understand one another." Yahweh scattered them thence all over the world, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, since their Yahweh confused the language of the whole world, and from their Yahweh scattered them all over the world. These are Shem's descendants. When Shem was 100 years old, he fathered Arpachshad, 2 years after the flood. After the birth of Arpachshad, Shem lived 500 years and fathered sons and daughters. When Arpachshad was 35 years old, he fathered Shelah. After the birth of Shelah, Arpachshad lived 403 years and fathered sons and daughters. When Shelah was 30 years old, he fathered Eber. After the birth of Eber, Shelah lived 403 years and fathered sons and daughters. When Eber was 34 years old, he fathered Peleg. After the birth of Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and fathered sons and daughters. When Peleg was 30 years old, he fathered Reu. After the birth of Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and fathered sons and daughters. When Reu was 32 years old, he fathered Serug. After the birth of Serug, Reu lived 207 years and fathered sons and daughters. When Serug was 30 years old, he fathered Nahor. After the birth of Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and fathered sons and daughters. When Nahor was 29 years old, he fathered Terah. After the birth of Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and fathered sons and daughters. When Terah was 70 years old, he fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran. These are Terah's descendants. Terah fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran fathered Lot. Haran died in the presence of his father Terah in his native land, Ur of the Chaldeans. Abram and Nahor both married. Abram's wife was called Sarai. Nahor's wife was called Milcah, daughter of Haran, father of Milcah and Iscah. Sarai was barren, having no child. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law the wife of Abram, and made them leave Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. But on arrival in Haran they settled there. Terah's life lasted 205 years. Then he died at Haran. Genesis chapter 12. Yahweh said to Abram, "Leave your country, your kindred and your father's house for a country which I shall show you, and I shall make you a great nation. I shall bless you and make your name famous. You are to be a blessing. I shall bless those who bless you, and shall curse those who curse you, and all clans on earth will bless themselves by you." So Abram went as Yahweh told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had amassed and the people they had acquired in Haran. They set off for the land of Canaan, and arrived there. Abram passed through the country as far as the holy place at Shechem, the oak of Moreh. The Canaanites were in the country at the time. Yahweh appeared to Abram and said, "I shall give this country to your progeny." And there, Abram built an altar to Yahweh who had appeared to him. From there he moved on to the mountainous district east of Bethel, where he pitched his tent, with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. There he built an altar to Yahweh and invoked the name of Yahweh. Then Abram made his way stage by stage to the Negeb. There was a famine in the country, and Abram went down to Egypt to stay there for a time, since the famine in the country was severe. When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "Look, I know you are a beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'That is his wife,' and they will kill me but leave you alive. Therefore please tell them you are my sister, so that they may treat me well because of you and spare my life out of regard for you." When Abram arrived in Egypt, the Egyptians did indeed see that the woman was very beautiful. When Pharaoh's officials saw her, they sang her praises to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's household. And Abram was very well treated because of her and received flocks, oxen, donkeys, men and women slaves, she-donkeys and camels. But Yahweh inflicted severe plagues on Pharaoh and his household because of Abram's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh summoned Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister,' so that I took her to be my wife? Now, here is your wife. Take her and go." And Pharaoh gave his people orders about him. They sent him on his way with his wife and all his possessions. Genesis chapter 13. From Egypt Abram returned to the Negeb with his wife and all he possessed, and Lot with him. Abram was very rich in livestock, silver and gold. By stages he went from the Negeb to Bethel, where he had first pitched his tent, between Bethel and Ai, at the place where he had formerly erected the altar. There Abram invoked the name of Yahweh. Lot, who was traveling with Abram, had flocks and cattle of his own, and tents too. The land was not sufficient to accommodate them both at once, for they had too many possessions to be able to live together. Dispute broke out between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and those of Lot. The Canaanites and Perizzites were living in the country at the time. Accordingly Abram said to Lot, "We do not want discord between us or between my herdsmen and yours, for we are kinsmen. Is not the whole land open before you? Go in the opposite direction to me. If you take the left, I shall go right. If you take the right, I shall go left." Looking round, Lot saw all the Jordan plain, irrigated everywhere. This was before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Yahweh or the land of Egypt, as far as Zoar. So Lot chose all the Jordan plain for himself and moved off eastwards. Thus they parted company. Abram settled in the land of Canaan. Lot settled among the cities of the plain, pitching his tents on the outskirts of Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were vicious and great sinners against Yahweh. Yahweh said to Abram after Lot had parted company from him, "Look all round from where you are, to north and south, to east and west. For all the land within sight I shall give to you and your descendants forever. I shall make your descendants like the dust on the ground. When people succeed in counting the specks of dust on the ground, then they will be able to count your descendants too. On your feet, travel the length and breadth of the country, for I mean to give it to you." So Abram moved his tent and went to settle at the oak of Mamre, at Hebron, and there he built an altar to Yahweh. Genesis chapter 14. When Amraphel king of Shinar, Arioch king of Elasa, Chedorlaomer king of Elam, and Tidal king of the Goyim, made war on Bera king of Sodom, Bershah king of Gomorrah, Shernab king of Admah, Shemeber king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zor, all the latter joined forces in the valley of Siddim, now the Salt Sea. For 12 years they had been under the yoke of Chedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they revolted. In the 14th year Chedorlaomer arrived, and the kings who had allied themselves with him. They defeated the Rephaim at Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim at Ham, the Emim in the plain of Kiriathaim, the Horites in the mountainous district of Seir near El Paran, which is on the edge of the desert. Wheeling round, they came to the spring of judgment, that is, Kadesh. They conquered all the territory of the Amalekites and also the Amorites who lived in Hazazon Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim and Bela, that is, Zor, marched out and engaged them in the valley of Siddim. Chedorlaomer king of Elam, Tidal king of the Goyim, Amraphel king of Shinar, and Arioch king of Elasa. 4 kings against 5. Now there were many bitumen wells in the valley of Siddim, and in their flight the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fell into them, while the rest fled into the hills. The conquerors seized all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their provisions, and made off. They also took Lot, the nephew of Abram, and his possessions and made off. He had been living at Sodom. A survivor came to tell Abram, and Aner the Hebrew, who was living at the oak of the Amorite Mamre, the brother of Eshcol. These were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his kinsmen had been taken captive, he mustered his retainers born in his own household, numbering 318, and gave chase as far as Dan. He and his retainers deployed against them under cover of dark, defeated them and pursued them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. He recaptured all the goods as well as his kinsman Lot and his possessions, together with the women and people. When Abram returned from defeating Chedorlaomer and the kings who had been on his side, the king of Sodom came to meet him in the valley of Shave, that is, the valley of the king. Melchizedek king of Salem brought bread and wine. He was a priest of God Most High. He pronounced this blessing, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High for putting your enemies into your clutches." And Abram gave him a tenth of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people and take the possessions for yourself." But Abram replied to the king of Sodom, "I swear by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, not one thread, not one sandal strap, will I take of what is yours, for you to be able to say, 'I made Abram rich.' For myself, nothing, except what the troops have used up, and the share due to the men who came with me, Eshcol, Aner, and Mamre. Let them take their share." Genesis chapter 15. Sometime later, the word of Yahweh came to Abram in a vision. "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield and shall give you a very great reward." "Lord Yahweh," Abram replied, "what use are your gifts, as I am going on my way childless? Since you have given me no offspring," Abram continued, "a member of my household will be my heir." Then Yahweh's word came to him in reply, "Such a one will not be your heir. No, your heir will be the issue of your own body." Then taking him outside, he said, "Look up at the sky and count the stars if you can. Just so will your descendants be," he told him. Abram put his faith in Yahweh, and this was reckoned to him as uprightness. He then said to him, "I am Yahweh who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this country as your possession." "Lord Yahweh," Abram replied, "how can I know that I shall possess it?" He said to him, "Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old she-goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle-dove, and a young pigeon." He brought him all these, split the animals down the middle, and placed each half opposite the other. But the birds he did not divide. And whenever birds of prey swooped down on the carcasses, Abram drove them off. Now, as the sun was on the point of setting, a trance fell on Abram, and a deep dark dread descended on him. Then Yahweh said to Abram, "Know this for certain, that your descendants will be exiles in a land not their own, and be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. But I shall bring judgment on the nation that enslaves them, and after this they will leave, with many possessions. For your part, you will join your ancestors in peace. You will be buried at a happy old age. In the 4th generation they will come back here. For until then the iniquity of the Amorites will not have reached its full extent." When the sun had set and it was dark, there appeared a smoking firepot and a flaming torch passing between the animals' pieces. That day Yahweh made a covenant with Abram in these terms: "To your descendants I give this country, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenite, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites." Genesis chapter 16. Abram's wife Sarai had borne him no child, but she had an Egyptian slave girl called Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, "Listen now, since Yahweh has kept me from having children, go to my slave girl. Perhaps I shall get children through her." And Abram took Sarai's advice. Thus, after Abram had lived in the land of Canaan for 10 years, Sarai took Hagar her Egyptian slave girl and gave her to Abram as his wife. He went to Hagar and she conceived. And once she knew she had conceived, her mistress counted for nothing in her eyes. Then Sarai said to Abram, "This outrage done to me is your fault. It was I who put my slave girl into your arms, but now she knows that she has conceived. I count for nothing in her eyes. Yahweh judge between me and you." "Very well," Abram said to Sarai, "your slave girl is at your disposal. Treat her as you think fit." Sarai accordingly treated her so badly that she ran away from her. The angel of Yahweh found her by a spring in the desert, the spring on the road to Shur. He said, "Hagar, slave girl of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" "I am running away from my mistress Sarai," she replied. The angel of Yahweh said to her, "Go back to your mistress and submit to her." The angel of Yahweh further said to her, "I shall make your descendants too numerous to be counted." Then the angel of Yahweh said to her, "Now you have conceived and will bear a son, and you shall name him Ishmael, for Yahweh has heard your cries of distress. A wild donkey of a man he will be, his hand against every man, and every man's hand against him, living his life in defiance of all his kinsmen." Hagar gave a name to Yahweh who had spoken to her, "You are El Roi," by which she meant, "Did I not go on seeing here, after him who sees me?" This is why the well is called the well of Lahai Roi. It is between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram gave his son born by Hagar the name Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. Genesis chapter 17. When Abram was 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to him and said, "I am El Shaddai, live in my presence, be perfect, and I shall grant a covenant between myself and you, and make you very numerous." And Abram bowed to the ground. God spoke to him as follows, "For my part, this is my covenant with you. You will become the father of many nations, and you are no longer to be called Abram. Your name is to be Abraham, for I am making you father of many nations. I shall make you exceedingly fertile. I shall make you into nations, and your issue will be kings. And I shall maintain my covenant between myself and you, and your descendants after you, generation after generation, as a covenant in perpetuity, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you. And to you and to your descendants after you, I shall give the country where you are now immigrants, the entire land of Canaan, to own in perpetuity, and I shall be their God." God further said to Abraham, "You for your part must keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you, generation after generation. This is my covenant which you must keep between myself and you, and your descendants after you. Every one of your males must be circumcised. You must circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and that will be the sign of the covenant between myself and you. As soon as he is 8 days old, every one of your males, generation after generation, must be circumcised, including slaves born within the household or bought from a foreigner not of your descent. Whether born within the household or bought, they must be circumcised. My covenant must be marked in your flesh as a covenant in perpetuity. The uncircumcised male, whose foreskin has not been circumcised, that person must be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant." Furthermore, God said to Abraham, "As regards your wife Sarai, you must not call her Sarai, but Sarah. I shall bless her and moreover give you a son by her. I shall bless her and she will become nations. Kings of peoples will issue from her." Abraham bowed to the ground, and he laughed, thinking to himself, "Is a child to be born to a man 100 years old? And will Sarah have a child at the age of 90? Abraham said to God, "May Ishmael live in your presence. That will be enough." But God replied, "Yes, your wife Sarah will bear you a son whom you must name Isaac. And I shall maintain my covenant with him, a covenant in perpetuity, to be his God and the God of his descendants after him. For Ishmael too I grant you your request." I hereby bless him and will make him fruitful and exceedingly numerous. He will be the father of 12 princes, and I shall make him into a great nation. But my covenant I shall maintain with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear you at this time next year." When he had finished speaking to Abraham, God went up from him. Then Abraham took his son Ishmael, all the slaves born in his household or whom he had bought, in short all the males among the people of Abraham's household, and circumcised their foreskins that same day, as God had said to him. Abraham was 99 years old when his foreskin was circumcised. Ishmael his son was 13 years old when his foreskin was circumcised. Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised on the very same day, and all the men of his household, those born in the household and those bought from foreigners, were circumcised with him. Genesis chapter 18. Yahweh appeared to him at the oak of Mamre while he was sitting by the entrance of the tent during the hottest part of the day. He looked up, and there he saw 3 men standing near him. As soon as he saw them, he ran from the entrance of the tent to greet them, and bowed to the ground. "My lord," he said, "if I find favor with you, please do not pass your servant by. Let me have a little water brought, and you can wash your feet and have a rest under the tree. Let me fetch a little bread, and you can refresh yourselves before going further, now that you have come in your servant's direction." They replied, "Do as you say." Abraham hurried to the tent and said to Sarah, "Quick, knead 3 measures of best flour and make loaves." Then, running to the herd, Abraham took a fine and tender calf and gave it to the servant, who hurried to prepare it. Then taking curds, milk, and the calf which had been prepared, he laid all before them, and they ate while he remained standing near them under the tree. "Where is your wife Sarah?" they asked him. "She is in the tent," he replied. Then his guest said, "I shall come back to you next year, and then your wife Sarah will have a son." Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well on in years, and Sarah had ceased to have her monthly periods. So Sarah laughed to herself, thinking, "Now that I am past the age of childbearing, and my husband is an old man, is pleasure to come my way again?" But Yahweh asked Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Am I really going to have a child now that I am old?' Nothing is impossible for Yahweh. I shall come back to you at the same time next year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah said, "I did not laugh," lying because she was afraid. But he replied, "Oh yes, you did laugh." From there the men set out and arrived within sight of Sodom, with Abraham accompanying them to speed them on their way. Now Yahweh had wondered, "Shall I conceal from Abraham what I am going to do? As Abraham will become a great and powerful nation, and all nations on earth will bless themselves by him? For I have singled him out to command his sons and his family after him to keep the way of Yahweh by doing what is upright and just, so that Yahweh can carry out for Abraham what he has promised him." Then Yahweh said, "The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great and their sin is so grave, that I shall go down and see whether or not their actions are at all as the outcry reaching me would suggest. Then I shall know." While the men left there and went to Sodom, Yahweh remained in Abraham's presence. Abraham stepped forward and said, "Will you really destroy the upright with the guilty? Suppose there are 50 upright people in the city. Will you really destroy it? Will you not spare the place for the sake of the 50 upright in it? Do not think of doing such a thing, to put the upright to death with the guilty, so that upright and guilty fare alike. Is the judge of the whole world not to act justly?" Yahweh replied, "If I find 50 upright people in the city of Sodom, I will spare the whole place because of them." Abraham spoke up and said, "It is presumptuous of me to speak to the Lord, I who am dust and ashes. Suppose the 50 upright were 5 short? Would you destroy the whole city because of 5? "No," he replied, "I shall not destroy it if I find 45 there." Abraham persisted and said, "Suppose there are 40 to be found there?" "I shall not do it," he replied, "for the sake of the 40. Abraham said, I hope the Lord will not be angry if I go on. Suppose there are only 30 to be found there? I shall not do it, he replied, if I find 30 there. He said, It is presumptuous of me to speak to the Lord. Suppose there are only 20 there? I shall not destroy it, he replied, for the sake of the 20. He said, I trust my Lord will not be angry if I speak once more. Perhaps there will only be 10. I shall not destroy it, he replied, for the sake of the 10. When he had finished talking to Abraham, Yahweh went away, and Abraham returned home. Genesis chapter 19. When the two angels reached Sodom in the evening, Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom. As soon as Lot saw them, he stood up to greet them, and bowed to the ground. My lords, he said, please come down to your servant's house to stay the night and wash your feet. Then you can make an early start on your journey. No, they said, we shall spend the night in the square. But he pressed them so much that they went home with him and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking unleavened bread, and they had supper. They had not gone to bed when the house was surrounded by the townspeople, the men of Sodom both young and old, all the people without exception. Calling out to Lot they said, Where are the men who came to you tonight? Send them out to us so that we can have intercourse with them. Lot came out to them at the door, and having shut the door behind him, said, Please, brothers, do not be wicked. Look, I have 2 daughters who are virgins. I am ready to send them out to you, for you to treat as you please. But do nothing to these men, since they are now under the protection of my roof. But they retorted, Stand back. This fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. Now we shall treat you worse than them. Then they forced Lot back and moved forward to break down the door. But the men reached out, pulled Lot back into the house with them, and shut the door. And they dazzled those who were at the door of the house, one and all, with a blinding light, so that they could not find the doorway. The men said to Lot, Have you anyone else here? Your sons, your daughters, and all your people in the city, take them away, for we are about to destroy this place, since the outcry to Yahweh against those in it has grown so loud that Yahweh has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went off and spoke to his future sons-in-law who were to marry his daughters. On your feet, he said. Leave this place, for Yahweh is about to destroy the city. But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. When dawn broke, the angels urged Lot on. To your feet. Take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away in the punishment of the city. And as he hesitated, the men seized his hand and the hands of his wife and his 2 daughters, Yahweh being merciful to him, and led him out and left him outside the city. When they had brought him outside, he was told, Flee for your life. Do not look behind you or stop anywhere on the plain. Flee to the hills, or you will be swept away. Oh no, my lord. Lot said to them, You have already been very good to your servant and shown me even greater love by saving my life. But I cannot flee to the hills, or disaster will overtake me and I shall die. That town over there is near enough to flee to, and is small. Let me flee there, after all it is only a small place, and so survive. He replied, I grant you this favor too, and will not overthrow the town you speak of. Hurry, flee to that one, for I cannot do anything until you reach it. That is why the town is named Zor. The sun rose over the horizon just as Lot was entering Zor. Then Yahweh rained down on Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire of his own sending. He overthrew those cities and the whole plain, with all the people living in the cities and everything that grew there. But Lot's wife looked back, and was turned into a pillar of salt. Next morning, Abraham hurried to the place where he had stood before Yahweh, and looking towards Sodom and Gomorrah and the whole area of the plain, he saw the smoke rising from the ground like smoke from a furnace. Thus it was that, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he did not forget Abraham, and he rescued Lot from the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities where Lot was living. After leaving Zor, Lot settled in the hill country with his 2 daughters, for he dared not stay at Zor. He lived in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. The elder said to the younger, "Our father is an old man, and there is no one here to marry us in the normal way of the world. Come on, let us ply our father with wine and sleep with him. In this way we can preserve the race by our father." That night they made their father drunk, and the elder slept with her father, though he was unaware of her coming to bed or of her leaving. The next day the elder said to the younger, "Last night I was the one who slept with our father. Let us make him drunk again tonight, and you go and sleep with him. In this way we can preserve the race by our father." They made their father drunk that night too, and the younger went and slept with him, though he was unaware of her coming to bed or of her leaving. Both Lot's daughters thus became pregnant by their father. The elder gave birth to a son whom she named Moab, and he is the ancestor of the Moabites of our own times. The younger also gave birth to a son whom she named Ben-Ammi, and he is the ancestor of the Ben-Ammon of our own times. Genesis chapter 20. Abraham left there for the region of the Negeb, and settled between Kadesh and Shur. While staying in Gerar, Abraham said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister," and Abimelech the king of Gerar had Sarah brought to him. But God visited Abimelech in a dream one night. "You are to die," he told him, "because of the woman you have taken, for she is a married woman." Abimelech, however, had not gone near her. So he said, "Lord, would you kill someone even if he is upright? Did he not tell me himself, 'She is my sister'? And she herself said, 'He is my brother.' I did this with a clear conscience and clean hands." "Yes, I know," God replied in the dream, "that you did this with a clear conscience, and I myself prevented you from sinning against me. That was why I did not let you touch her. Now send the man's wife back, for he is a prophet and can intercede on your behalf for your life. But understand that if you do not send her back, this means death for you and all yours." Early next morning, Abimelech summoned his full court and told them the whole story, at which the people were very much afraid. Then summoning Abraham, Abimelech said to him, "What have you done to us? What wrong have I done you, for you to bring such guilt on me and on my kingdom? You had no right to treat me like this." Abimelech then said to Abraham, "What possessed you to do such a thing?" "Because," Abraham replied, "I thought there would be no fear of God here and that I should be killed for the sake of my wife. Anyway, she really is my sister, my father's daughter though not my mother's, besides being my wife. So when God made me wander far from my father's home, I said to her, 'There is an act of love you can do me. Everywhere we go, say of me that I am your brother.'" Abimelech took sheep, cattle, men and women slaves, and presented them to Abraham, and gave him back his wife Sarah. And Abimelech said, "Look, my land is open to you. Settle wherever you please." To Sarah he said, "Look, I am giving your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. This will allay suspicions about you, as far as all the people round you are concerned. You have been completely vindicated." Abraham then interceded with God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife and his slave girls, so that they could have children. For Yahweh had made all the women of Abimelech's household barren on account of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Genesis chapter 21. Yahweh treated Sarah as he had said, and did what he had promised her. Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the time God had promised. Abraham named the son born to him Isaac, the son to whom Sarah had given birth. Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Sarah said, "God has given me cause to laugh. All who hear about this will laugh with me." She added, "Whoever would have told Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne a son in his old age." The child grew and was weaned, and Abraham gave a great banquet on the day Isaac was weaned. Now Sarah watched the son that Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham, playing with her son Isaac. "Drive away that slave girl and her son," she said to Abraham. "This slave girl's son is not to share the inheritance with my son Isaac." This greatly distressed Abraham, because the slave girl's child too was his son. But God said to him, "Do not distress yourself on account of the boy and your slave girl. Do whatever Sarah says, for Isaac is the one through whom your name will be carried on. But the slave girl's son I shall also make into a great nation, for he too is your child." Early next morning, Abraham took some bread and a skin of water and, giving them to Hagar, put the child on her shoulder and sent her away. She wandered off into the desert of Beersheba. When the skin of water was finished, she abandoned the child under a bush. Then she went and sat down at a distance, about a bowshot away, thinking, "I cannot bear to see the child die." Sitting at a distance, she began to sob. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. "What is wrong, Hagar?" he asked. "Do not be afraid, for God has heard the boy's cry and his plight. Go and pick the boy up and hold him safe, for I shall make him into a great nation." Then God opened Hagar's eyes, and she saw a well. So she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy. He grew up and made his home in the desert, and he became an archer. He made his home in the desert of Paran, and his mother got him a wife from Egypt. About then, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, "Since God is with you in everything you do, swear to me by God, here and now, that you will not act treacherously towards me or my kith and kin, but behave with the same faithful love to me and the land of which you are a guest as I have behaved to you." "Yes," Abraham replied, "I swear it." Abraham then reproached Abimelech about a well that Abimelech's servants had seized. "I do not know who has done this," Abimelech said. "You yourself have never mentioned it to me, and, for myself, I heard nothing of it till today." Abraham then took sheep and cattle and presented them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. Abraham put 7 lambs of the flock on one side. "Why have you put these 7 lambs on one side?" Abimelech asked Abraham. He replied, "You must accept these 7 lambs from me as evidence that I have dug this well." This was why the place was called Beersheba, because there the two of them swore an oath. After they had made a covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, left and went back to Philistine territory. And Abraham planted a tamarisk at Beersheba, and there he invoked the name of Yahweh. Abraham stayed for a long while in Philistine territory. Genesis chapter 22. It happened some time later that God put Abraham to the test. "Abraham, Abraham," he called. "Here I am," he replied. God said, "Take your son, your only son, your beloved Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah, where you are to offer him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains which I shall point out to you." Early next morning Abraham saddled his donkey and took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. He chopped wood for the burnt offering and started on his journey to the place which God had indicated to him. On the 3rd day Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. Then Abraham said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I are going over there. We shall worship and then come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering, loaded it on Isaac, and carried in his own hands the fire and the knife. Then the 2 of them set out together. Isaac spoke to his father Abraham. "Father," he said. "Yes, my son," he replied. "Look," he said, "here are the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham replied, "My son, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering." And the 2 of them went on together. When they arrived at the place which God had indicated to him, Abraham built an altar there, and arranged the wood. Then he bound his son and put him on the altar on top of the wood. Abraham stretched out his hand and took the knife to kill his son. But the angel of Yahweh called to him from heaven. "Abraham, Abraham," he said. "Here I am," he replied. "Do not raise your hand against the boy," the angel said. "Do not harm him, for now I know you fear God. You have not refused me your own beloved son." Then looking up, Abraham saw a ram caught by its horns in a bush. Abraham took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in place of his son. Abraham called this place Yahweh Provides, and hence the saying today, "On the mountain Yahweh provides." The angel of Yahweh called Abraham a second time from heaven. "I swear by my own self," Yahweh declares, "that because you have done this, because you have not refused me your own beloved son, I will shower blessings on you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars of heaven and the grains of sand on the seashore. Your descendants will gain possession of the gates of their enemies. All nations on earth will bless themselves by your descendants, because you have obeyed my command." Abraham went back to his servants, and together they set out for Beersheba, and Abraham settled in Beersheba. It happened some time later that Abraham received word that Milcah too had now borne sons to his brother Nahor, Uzi his firstborn, Buz his brother, Kemuel father of Aram, Chesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, Bethuel, and Bethuel was the father of Rebekah. These were the 8 children Milcah gave Nahor, Abraham's brother. He had a concubine named Reumah, and she too had children, Tebah, Gaham, Tahash, and Maachah. Genesis chapter 23. The length of Sarah's life was 127 years. She died at Kiriath Arba, now Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham proceeded to mourn and bewail her. Then rising from beside his dead, Abraham spoke to the Hittites. "I am a stranger resident here," he said. "Let me have a burial site of my own here, so that I can remove my dead for burial." The Hittites replied to Abraham, "Please listen to us, my lord. We regard you as a prince of God. Bury your dead in the best of our tombs. Not one of us would refuse you his tomb for you to bury your dead." At this, Abraham rose and bowed low to the local people, the Hittites, and pleaded with them as follows: "If you consent to my removing my dead for burial, you must agree to intercede for me with Ephron son of Zohar, for him to let me have the cave he owns at Machpelah, which is on the edge of his field. Let him sell it to me in your presence at its full price, for a burial site of my own." Now Ephron was sitting among the Hittites, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of the Hittites, of all the inhabitants of his town. "No, my lord, listen to me," he said. "I give you the field and the cave in it. I make this gift in the presence of my kinsmen. Bury your dead." Abraham bowed low to the local people and, in the hearing of the local people, replied to Ephron as follows: "Be good enough to listen to me. I shall pay the price of the field. Accept it from me and I shall bury my dead there." Ephron replied to Abraham, "Please listen to me, my lord. What is a plot of land for 400 shekels of silver between me and you? Bury your dead." Abraham agreed to Ephron's terms, and Abraham weighed out for Ephron the silver he had stipulated in the hearing of the Hittites, namely 400 shekels of silver, according to the current commercial rate. Thus Ephron's field at Machpelah, facing Mamre, the field and the cave in it and all the trees anywhere within the boundaries of the field, passed into Abraham's possession in the sight of the Hittites, of all the inhabitants of his town. And after this, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave of the field of Machpelah, facing Mamre, now Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And so the field and the cave in it passed from the Hittites into Abraham's possession as a burial site of his own. Genesis chapter 24. By now Abraham was an old man, well on in years, and Yahweh had blessed Abraham in every way. Abraham said to the senior servant in his household, the steward of all his property, "Place your hand under my thigh. I am going to make you swear by Yahweh, God of heaven and God of earth, that you will not choose a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I live, but will go to my native land and my own kinsfolk to choose a wife for my son Isaac." The servant asked him, "What if the girl does not want to follow me to this country? Should I then take your son back to the country from which you come?" Abraham replied, "On no account are you to take my son back there. Yahweh, God of heaven and God of earth, who took me from my father's home, and from the land of my kinsfolk, and who promised me on oath, 'I shall give this country to your descendants.' He will now send his angel ahead of you, so that you can get a wife for my son from there. If then the girl refuses to follow you, you will be quit of this oath to me. Only do not take my son back there." And the servant placed his hand under the thigh of his master Abraham, and swore to him that he would do it. The servant took 10 of his master's camels, and, carrying all kinds of gifts from his master, set out for the city of Nahor in Aram Naharaim. In the evening, at the time when women come out to draw water, he made the camels kneel outside the town near the well. And he said, "Yahweh, God of my master Abraham, give me success today and show faithful love to my master Abraham. While I stand by the spring as the young women from the town come out to draw water, I shall say to one of the girls, 'Please lower your pitcher and let me drink.' And if she answers, 'Drink, and I shall water your camels too,' let her be the one you have decreed for your servant Isaac. By this I shall know you have shown faithful love to my master." He had not finished speaking when out came Rebekah, who was the daughter of Bethuel son of Milcah, the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor, with a pitcher on her shoulder. The girl was very beautiful, and a virgin. No man had touched her. She went down to the spring, filled her pitcher, and came up again. Running towards her, the servant said, "Please give me a sip of water from your pitcher." She replied, "Drink, my lord," and quickly lowered her pitcher on her arm and gave him a drink. When she had finished letting him drink, she said, "I shall draw water for your camels, too, until they have had enough." She quickly emptied her pitcher into the trough, and ran to the well again to draw, and drew for all the camels. All the while, the man stood watching her, not daring to speak, wondering whether Yahweh had made his journey successful or not. When the camels had finished drinking, the man took a gold ring weighing 1/2 shekel, and put it through her nose, and put 2 bracelets weighing 10 gold shekels on her arms, and said, "Whose daughter are you? Please tell me. Is there room at your father's house for us to spend the night?" She replied, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son whom Milcah bore to Nahor." And she went on, "We have plenty of straw and fodder, and room to spend the night." Then the man bowed down and worshipped Yahweh, saying, "Blessed be Yahweh, God of my master Abraham, for not withholding his faithful love for my master. Yahweh has led me straight to the house of my master's brother." The girl ran to her mother's house to tell what had happened. Now Rebekah had a brother called Laban, and Laban ran out to the man at the spring. As soon as he had seen the ring and the bracelets his sister was wearing, and had heard his sister Rebekah saying, "This is what the man said to me," he went to the man and found him still standing by his camels at the spring. He said to him, "Come in, blessed of Yahweh. Why stay out here when I have cleared the house and made room for the camels?" The man went to the house, and Laban unloaded the camels. He provided straw and fodder for the camels and water for him and his companions to wash their feet. They offered him food, but he said, "I will eat nothing before I have said what I have to say." Laban said, "Speak." He said, "I am Abraham's servant. Yahweh has loaded my master with blessings, and Abraham is now very rich. He has given him flocks and herds, silver and gold, men and women slaves, camels and donkeys. Sarah, my master's wife, bore my master a son in his old age, and he has made over all his property to him. My master made me take this oath: you are not to choose a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites in whose country I live. Instead, you are to go to my father's home and to my own kinsfolk to choose a wife for my son. I said to my master, suppose the girl will not agree to come with me? And his reply was, Yahweh, in whose presence I have walked, will send his angel with you and make your journey successful. for you to choose a wife for my son from my own kinsfolk, from my father's house. Then you will be quit of my curse. If you go to my family and they refuse you, you will be quit of my curse. Arriving today at the spring, I said, Yahweh, God of my master Abraham, please grant a successful outcome to the course I propose to take. While I stand by the spring, if a girl comes out to draw water and I say to her, please give me a little water to drink from your pitcher, if she replies, drink by all means, and I shall draw water for your camels too, let her be the girl whom Yahweh has decreed for my master's son. I was still saying this in my mind when Rebekah came out, her pitcher on her shoulder. She came down to the spring and drew water. I said to her, please give me a drink. Quickly she lowered her pitcher, saying, drink, and I shall water your camels too. I asked her, whose daughter are you? She replied, I am the daughter of Bethuel, whom Milcah bore to Nahor. Then I put this ring through her nose and these bracelets on her arms. I bowed down and worshipped Yahweh, and I blessed Yahweh, God of my master Abraham, who had led me by a direct path to choose the daughter of my master's brother for his son. Now tell me whether you are prepared to show constant and faithful love to my master. If not, say so, and I shall know what to do. Laban and Bethuel replied, this is from Yahweh. It is not for us to say yes or no to you. Rebekah is there before you. Take her and go, and let her become the wife of your master's son, as Yahweh has decreed. On hearing this, Abraham's servant bowed to the ground before Yahweh. He brought out silver and gold ornaments and clothes which he gave to Rebekah. He also gave rich presents to her brother and to her mother. They ate and drank, he and his companions, and spent the night there. Next morning when they were up, he said, let me go back to my master. Rebekah's brother and mother replied, let the girl stay with us for 10 days or so, then she can go. But he replied, do not delay me, since Yahweh has made my journey successful. Let me leave and go back to my master. They replied, let us call the girl and find out what she has to say. They called Rebekah and asked her, will you go with this man? She replied, I will. Accordingly they let their sister Rebekah go, with her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men. They blessed Rebekah and said to her, sister of ours, from you may there spring thousands and tens of thousands. May your descendants gain possession of the gates of their enemies. And forthwith, Rebekah and her maids mounted the camels, and followed the man. The servant took Rebekah and departed. Isaac meanwhile had come back from the well of Lahai Roi and was living in the Negeb. While Isaac was out walking towards evening in the fields, he looked up and saw camels approaching. And Rebekah looked up and saw Isaac. She jumped down from her camel and asked the servant, who is that man walking through the fields towards us? The servant replied, that is my master. So she took her veil and covered herself up. The servant told Isaac the whole story. Then Isaac took her into his tent. He married Rebekah and made her his wife. And in his love for her, Isaac was consoled for the loss of his mother. Genesis chapter 25. Abraham married another wife whose name was Keturah, and she bore him Zimram, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan, and the descendants of Dedan were the Asherites, the Letushim, and the Lumim. The descendants of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldah. All these were sons of Keturah. Abraham left all his possessions to Isaac. To the sons of his concubines Abraham made grants during his lifetime, sending them away from his son Isaac eastward, to the land of the east. The number of years Abraham lived was 175. When Abraham had breathed his last, dying at a happy ripe age, old and full of years, he was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah facing Mamre, in the field of Ephron the Hittite son of Zohar. This was the field that Abraham had bought from the Hittites, and Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried there. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac. Isaac settled near the well of Lahai Roi. These are the descendants of Ishmael son of Abraham by Hagar, Sarah's Egyptian slave girl. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael by name and line. Ishmael's firstborn was Nebaioth, then Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish and Kedema. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names, according to their settlements and encampments, 12 chiefs of as many tribes. The number of years Ishmael lived was 137. When he breathed his last and died, he was gathered to his people. He lived in the territory stretching from Havilah by Shur just outside Egypt on the way to Assyria, and he held his own against all his kinsmen. This is the story of Isaac son of Abraham. Abraham fathered Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel the Aramean of Paddan Aram, and sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac prayed to Yahweh on behalf of his wife, for she was barren. Yahweh heard his prayer, and his wife Rebekah conceived. But the children inside her struggled so much that she said, "If this is the way of it, why go on living?" So she went to consult Yahweh, and Yahweh said to her, "There are 2 nations in your womb. Your issue will be 2 rival peoples. One nation will have the mastery of the other, and the elder will serve the younger." When the time came for her confinement, there were indeed twins in her womb. The first to be born was red, altogether like a hairy cloak, so they named him Esau. Then his brother was born, with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old at the time of their birth. When the boys grew up, Esau became a skilled hunter, a man of the open country. Jacob, on the other hand, was a quiet man, staying at home among the tents. Isaac preferred Esau, for he had a taste for wild game, but Rebekah preferred Jacob. Once, when Jacob was cooking a stew, Esau returned from the countryside exhausted. Esau said to Jacob, "Give me a mouthful of that red stuff there. I am exhausted," hence the name given to him, Edom. Jacob said, "First, give me your birthright in exchange." Esau said, "Here I am at death's door. What use is a birthright to me?" Then Jacob said, "First give me your oath." He gave him his oath and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave him some bread and lentil stew. He ate, drank, got up and went away. That was all Esau cared about his birthright. Genesis chapter 26. There was a famine in the country, different from the previous famine which took place in the time of Abraham. And Isaac went to Abimelech, the Philistine king, at Gerar. Yahweh had appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the country which I shall point out to you. Remain for the present in that country. I shall be with you and bless you, for I shall give all these countries to you and your descendants in fulfillment of the oath I swore to your father Abraham. I shall make your descendants as numerous as the stars of heaven, and I shall give them all these countries, and all nations on earth will bless themselves by your descendants in return for Abraham's obedience. For he kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." So Isaac stayed at Gerar. When the people of the place asked him about his wife, he replied, "She is my sister," for he was afraid to say, "She is my wife," thinking, "The people of the place will kill me because of Rebekah, since she is beautiful." When he had been there some time, Abimelech the Philistine king happened to look out of the window and saw Isaac fondling his wife Rebekah. Abimelech summoned Isaac and said to him, "Surely she must be your wife. How could you have said, 'She is my sister'?" Isaac replied, "Because I thought I might be killed on her account." Abimelech said, "What a thing to do to us! One of the people might easily have slept with your wife. We should have incurred guilt, thanks to you." Then Abimelech issued this order to all the people: "Whoever touches this man or his wife will be put to death." Isaac sowed his crops in that country, and that year he reaped 100-fold. Yahweh blessed him, and the man became rich. He prospered more and more until he was very rich indeed. He acquired flocks and herds and a large retinue. The Philistines began to envy him. The Philistines had blocked up all the wells dug by his father's servants in the days of his father Abraham, filling them in with earth. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "You must leave us, for you have become much more powerful than we are." So Isaac left. He pitched camp in the valley of Gerar, and there he stayed. Isaac reopened the wells dug by the servants of his father Abraham and blocked up by the Philistines after Abraham's death, and he gave them the same names as his father had given them. But when Isaac's servants, digging in the valley, found a well of spring water there, the herdsmen of Gerar disputed it with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, "That water is ours." So Isaac named the well Ezek, because they had disputed with him. They dug another well, and there was a dispute over that one too. So he named it Sitnah. Then he left there, and dug another well, and since there was no dispute over this one, he named it Rehoboth, saying, "Now Yahweh has made room for us to thrive in the country." From there he went up to Beersheba. Yahweh appeared to him the same night and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I shall bless you and multiply your offspring for my servant Abraham's sake." There he built an altar and invoked the name of Yahweh. There he pitched his tent, and there Isaac's servants sank a well. Abimelech came from Gerar to see him, with Ahuzath his adviser and Phicol the commander of his army. Isaac said to them, "Why do you come to me, since you hate me, and have made me leave you?" "It became clear to us that Yahweh was with you," they replied, "and so we thought, it is time to have a treaty sworn between us and you. So let us make a covenant with you, that you will not do us any harm, since we never molested you but were unfailingly kind to you and let you go away in peace. Henceforth, Yahweh's blessing on you." He then made them a feast, and they ate and drank. Early next morning, they exchanged oaths. Then Isaac bade them farewell, and they left him as friends. It happened, the same day, that Isaac's servants brought him news about the well they had been digging. "We have found water," they said to him. So he called the well Sheba, and hence the town is named Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basemath daughter of Elon the Hittite. These were a bitter disappointment to Isaac and Rebekah. Genesis chapter 27. When Isaac had grown old, and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he summoned his elder son Esau. "Son," he said, and Esau replied, "Here I am." He then said, "Look, I am old and do not know when I may die. Now take your weapons, your quiver and bow. Go out into the country and hunt me some game. Make me the kind of appetizing dish I like and bring it to me to eat, and I shall give you my special blessing before I die." Rebekah was listening while Isaac was talking to his son Esau. So when Esau went into the country to hunt game for his father, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I have just heard your father saying to your brother Esau, 'Bring me some game and make an appetizing dish for me to eat, and then I shall bless you in Yahweh's presence before I die.' Now, son, listen to me and do as I tell you. Go to the flock and bring me back 2 good kids, so that I can make the kind of special dish your father likes. Then take it to your father for him to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies." Jacob said to his mother Rebekah, "Look, my brother Esau is hairy, while I am smooth-skinned. If my father happens to touch me, he will see I am cheating him, and I shall bring a curse down on myself instead of a blessing." But his mother replied, "On me be the curse, my son. Just listen to me. Go and fetch me the kids." So he went to fetch them and brought them to his mother, and she made the kind of special dish his father liked. Rebekah took her elder son Esau's best clothes, which she had at home, and dressed her younger son Jacob in them, covering his arms and the smooth part of his neck with the skins of the kids. She then handed the special dish and the bread she had made to her son Jacob. He went to his father and said, "Father." "Yes," he replied. "Which of my sons are you?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of the game I have brought, and then give me your soul's blessing." Isaac said to his son, "Son, how did you succeed so quickly?" He replied, "Because Yahweh your God made things go well for me." Isaac said to Jacob, "Come closer, son, so that I can feel you and be sure whether you really are my son Esau or not." Jacob went closer to his father Isaac, who felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the arms are the arms of Esau." He did not recognize him, since his arms were hairy like his brother Esau's, and so he blessed him. He said, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he replied, "I am." Isaac said, "Serve it to me, so that I can eat my son's game and give you my special blessing." He served it to him and he ate. He offered him wine, and he drank. His father Isaac said to him, "Come closer and kiss me, son." He went closer and kissed his father, who sniffed the smell of his clothes. Then he blessed him, saying, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a fertile field which Yahweh has blessed. May God give you dew from heaven, and the richness of the earth, abundance of grain and wine. Let peoples serve you and nations bow low before you. Be master of your brothers. Let your mother's other sons bow low before you. Accursed be whoever curses you, and blessed be whoever blesses you." As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and just as Jacob was leaving his father Isaac, his brother Esau returned from hunting. He too made an appetizing dish and brought it to his father. "Father, please eat some of your son's game and then give me your special blessing." His father Isaac asked, "Who are you?" "I am your firstborn son, Esau," he replied. At this Isaac was seized with a violent trembling and said, "Who was it, then, that went hunting and brought me the game? I finished eating it just before you came. I blessed him, and now blessed he will remain." On hearing his father's words, Esau cried out loudly and bitterly and said to his father, "Father, bless me too." But he replied, "Your brother came by fraud and took your blessing." Esau said, "His name should be Jacob right enough, for he has now supplanted me twice. First he took my birthright, and look, now he has gone and taken my blessing. But," he added, "have you not kept a blessing for me?" Isaac replied to Esau, "I have already made him your master. I have given him all his brothers as servants. I have given him grain and wine to sustain him. So what can I do for you, son?" Esau said to his father, "Can you bless only once, father?" "Father, bless me too." Isaac remained silent, and Esau began to weep aloud. Then his father Isaac spoke again and said, "Far from the richness of the earth and the dew of heaven above, your home will be. By your sword you will live, and your brother will you serve. But when you win your freedom, you will shake his yoke off your neck." Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him, and Esau said to himself, "The time to mourn for my father will soon be here. Then I shall kill my brother Jacob." When the words of Esau, her elder son, were repeated to Rebekah, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, "Look, your brother Esau means to take revenge and kill you. Now, son, listen to me. Go at once and take refuge with my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him a while, until your brother's fury cools, until your brother's anger is diverted from you and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I shall send someone to bring you back. I do not want to lose you both on one day." Rebekah said to Isaac, "The Hittite women sicken me to death. If Jacob were to marry a Hittite woman like these, one of the local women, what would there be left in life for me?" Genesis, chapter 28. So Isaac summoned Jacob and blessed him, and he gave him this order, "You are not to marry any of the Canaanite women. Go off to Paddan Aram, the home of Bethuel your mother's father, and there choose a wife for yourself from the daughters of Laban your mother's brother. May El Shaddai bless you. May he make you fruitful and make you multiply so that you become a group of nations. May he grant you the blessing of Abraham, you and your descendants after you, so that one day you may own the country where you are now living as a stranger, which God gave to Abraham." Then Isaac sent Jacob away, and Jacob went to Paddan Aram, to Laban son of Bethuel the Aramean and brother of Rebekah the mother of Jacob and Esau. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him to Paddan Aram to choose a wife there, and that in blessing him he had given him this order, "You are not to choose a wife from the Canaanite women," and that, in obedience to his father and mother, Jacob had gone to Paddan Aram, Esau then realized how much his father Isaac disapproved of the Canaanite women. So Esau went to Ishmael and chose for a wife, in addition to the wives he had, Mahalath daughter of Abraham's son Ishmael and sister of Nebaioth. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. When he had reached a certain place, he stopped there for the night, since the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of that place, he made it his pillow and lay down where he was. He had a dream. There was a ladder, planted on the ground with its top reaching to heaven, and God's angels were going up and down on it. And there was Yahweh, standing beside him and saying, "I, Yahweh, am the God of Abraham your father, and the God of Isaac. The ground on which you are lying I shall give to you and your descendants. Your descendants will be as plentiful as the dust on the ground. You will spread out to west and east, to north and south, and all clans on earth will bless themselves by you and your descendants. Be sure, I am with you. I shall keep you safe wherever you go, and bring you back to this country, for I shall never desert you until I have done what I have promised you." Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, "Truly, Yahweh is in this place and I did not know." He was afraid and said, "How awe-inspiring this place is! This is nothing less than the abode of God, and this is the gate of heaven." Early next morning, Jacob took the stone he had used for his pillow, and set it up as a pillar, pouring oil over the top of it. He named the place Bethel, but before that the town had been called Luz. Jacob then made this vow, "If God remains with me and keeps me safe on this journey I am making, if he gives me food to eat and clothes to wear, and if I come home safe to my father's home, then Yahweh shall be my God. This stone I have set up as a pillar is to be a house of God, and I shall faithfully pay you a 10th part of everything you give me." Genesis chapter 29. Continuing his journey, Jacob reached the land of the Easterners, and there, out in the open, he saw a well with 3 flocks of sheep lying beside it. This well was used for watering the flocks. Now the stone on the mouth of the well was a large one, and only when all the flocks had collected there, did they roll the stone off the mouth of the well and water the sheep. Then they would replace the stone over the mouth of the well. Jacob said to the shepherds, "Friends, where are you from?" They replied, "We are from Haran." He asked them, "Do you know Laban son of Nahor?" They replied, "We do." Then he asked them, "Is he well?" "He is," they replied, "and here comes his daughter Rachel with the flock." Then he said, "But it is still broad daylight, not the time to round up the animals. Why don't you water the sheep and take them back to graze?" To which they replied, "We can't, until all the shepherds have assembled to roll the stone off the mouth of the well. Then we can water the sheep." He was still talking to them, when Rachel arrived with her father's flock, for she was a shepherdess. As soon as Jacob saw Rachel, his uncle Laban's daughter, with his uncle Laban's flock, he went up and, rolling the stone off the mouth of the well, watered his uncle Laban's sheep. Jacob then kissed Rachel and burst into tears. He told Rachel he was her father's kinsman and Rebekah's son, and she ran to tell her father. As soon as he heard her speak of his sister's son Jacob, Laban ran to greet him, embraced him, kissed him and took him to his house. Jacob told Laban everything that had happened, and Laban said to him, "You are indeed my bone and flesh." After Jacob had been staying with him for a month, Laban said to Jacob, Just because you are my kinsman, why should you work for me for nothing? Tell me what wages you want." Now Laban had 2 daughters, the elder named Leah, and the younger Rachel. Leah had lovely eyes, but Rachel was shapely and beautiful, and Jacob had fallen in love with Rachel. So his answer was, "I shall work for you for 7 years in exchange for your younger daughter Rachel." Laban replied, "It is better for me to give her to you than to a stranger. Stay with me." So Jacob worked for 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him like a few days because he loved her so much. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife, for my time is up and I should like to go to her." Laban gathered all the people of the place together and gave a banquet. But when night came, he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob, and he slept with her. Laban gave his slave girl Zilpah to his daughter Leah as her slave. When morning came, it was Leah. So Jacob said to Laban, "What have you done to me? Did I not work for you for Rachel? Why then have you tricked me?" Laban replied, "It is not the custom in our place to marry off the younger before the elder. Finish this marriage week, and I shall give you the other one too in return for your working for me for another 7 years." Jacob agreed, and, when he had finished the week, Laban gave him his daughter Rachel as his wife. Laban gave his slave girl Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her slave. So Jacob slept with Rachel too, and he loved Rachel more than Leah. He worked for Laban for another 7 years. When Yahweh saw that Leah was unloved, he opened her womb, while Rachel remained barren. Leah conceived and gave birth to a son whom she named Reuben, meaning Yahweh has seen my misery. And she said, "Now my husband will love me." Conceiving again, she gave birth to a son and said, "Yahweh heard that I was unloved, and so he has given me this one too." And she named him Simeon. Again she conceived and gave birth to a son, and said, "This time my husband will become attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Accordingly, she named him Levi. Again she conceived and gave birth to a son, and said, "Now I shall praise Yahweh." Accordingly, she named him Judah. Then she had no more children. Genesis chapter 30. Rachel, seeing that she herself gave Jacob no children, became jealous of her sister, and she said to Jacob, "Give me children, or I shall die." This made Jacob angry with Rachel, and he retorted, "Am I in the position of God, who has denied you motherhood?" So she said, "Here is my slave girl, Bilhah. Sleep with her and let her give birth on my knees. Through her, then, I too shall have children." So she gave him her slave girl Bilhah as concubine. Jacob slept with her, and Bilhah conceived and gave birth to a son by Jacob. Then Rachel said, "God has done me justice. Yes, he has heard my prayer and given me a son." Accordingly, she named him Dan. Again Rachel's slave girl Bilhah conceived and gave birth to a second son by Jacob. Then Rachel said, "I have fought a fateful battle with my sister, and I have won." So she named him Naphtali. Now Leah, seeing that she had ceased to bear children, took her slave girl Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as concubine. So Leah's slave girl Zilpah gave birth to a son by Jacob. Then Leah exclaimed, "What good fortune!" So she named him Gad. Leah's slave girl Zilpah gave birth to a second son by Jacob. Then Leah said, "What blessedness! Women will call me blessed." So she named him Asher. One day, at the time of the wheat harvest, Reuben found some mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." Leah replied, "Is it not enough to have taken my husband, without your taking my son's mandrakes as well?" So Rachel said, "Very well, he can sleep with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes." When Jacob came back from the fields that night, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come to me, for I have hired you at the price of my son's mandrakes." So he slept with her that night. God heard Leah, and she conceived and gave birth to a fifth son by Jacob. Then Leah said, God has given me my reward for giving my slave girl to my husband. So she named him Issachar. Again Leah conceived and gave birth to a sixth son by Jacob, and said, God has given me a fine gift. Now my husband will bring me presents, for I have borne him 6 sons. So she named him Zebulun. Later she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel. He heard her and opened her womb. She conceived and gave birth to a son, and said, God has taken away my disgrace. She named him Joseph, saying, May Yahweh add another son for me. When Rachel had given birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, Release me and let me go home to my own country. Give me my wives for whom I have worked for you, and my children, and let me go. You are well aware how long I have worked for you. Laban replied, If I have done what pleases you. I have learnt by divination that Yahweh has blessed me because of you. So name your wages, he added, and I will pay. He replied, You know how hard I have worked for you, and how your stock has fared in my charge. The little you had before I came has increased enormously, and Yahweh has blessed you wherever I have been. When am I to provide for my own household too? Laban said, How much am I to pay you? Jacob replied, You need not pay me anything. I shall change my mind and go on tending your flock, if you do this one thing for me. Go through your entire flock today and remove every black animal among the sheep, and every speckled or spotted one among the goats. These will be my wages, and my uprightness will answer for me later. When you come to check my wages, every goat I have that is not speckled or spotted, and every sheep that is not black will count as stolen by me. Laban replied, Good, just as you say. That same day he removed the striped and speckled he-goats and all the spotted and speckled she-goats, every one that had white on it, and all the black sheep, and entrusted these to his sons. Then he put a 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob grazed the rest of Laban's flock. Jacob then got fresh shoots from poplar, almond and plane trees, and peeled them in white strips, laying bare the white part of the shoots. He set up the shoots he had peeled in front of the animals, in the troughs, in the water holes where the animals came to drink. Since they mated when they came to drink, the goats thus mated in front of the shoots, and so the goats produced striped, spotted, and speckled young. The ewes, on the other hand, Jacob kept apart and made these face whatever was striped or black in Laban's flock. Thus he built up droves of his own which he did not put with Laban's flocks. Furthermore, whenever the sturdier animals were mating, Jacob put the shoots where the animals could see them, in the troughs, so that they would mate in front of the shoots. But when the animals were feeble, he did not put them there. So Laban got the feeble, and Jacob the sturdy. Thus the man grew extremely rich, and came to own large flocks, men and women slaves, camels and donkeys. Genesis chapter 31. Jacob learned that Laban's sons were saying, Jacob has taken everything that belonged to our father. It is at our father's expense that he has acquired all this wealth. And Jacob also saw that Laban's manner towards him was not as it had been in the past. Yahweh said to Jacob, Go back to the land of your ancestors, where you were born, and I shall be with you. So Jacob had Rachel and Leah called to the fields where his flocks were, and he said to them, I can see that your father's manner towards me is not as it was in the past, but the God of my father has been with me. You yourselves know that I have worked for your father with all my might, and that your father has tricked me, changing my wages 10 times over, and yet God has not allowed him to harm me. Whenever he said, The spotted ones will be your wages, all the animals produce spotted young. Whenever he said, The striped ones will be your wages, all the animals produce striped young. Thus God has reclaimed your father's livestock and given it to me. Once, when the animals were on heat, I suddenly saw in a dream that the he-goats covering the females were striped or spotted or piebald. In the dream the angel of God called to me, "Jacob." I said, "Here I am." He said, "Now take note. All the he-goats covering the females are striped or spotted or piebald. For I too have noted all the things that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God who appeared to you at Bethel, where you poured oil on a pillar and made a vow to me. On your feet, then, leave this country and return to the land of your birth." In answer, Rachel and Leah said to him, "Are we still likely to inherit anything from our father's estate? Does he not think of us as outsiders now? For not only has he sold us, but he has completely swallowed up the money he got for us. All the wealth that God has reclaimed from our father belonged to us and our children in any case. So do whatever God has told you." Forthwith, Jacob put his children and his wives on camels, and drove off all his livestock, with all the possessions he had acquired, the livestock belonging to him which he had acquired in Paddan Aram, to go to his father Isaac in Canaan. Laban was away, shearing his sheep. Rachel in the meanwhile had appropriated the household idols belonging to her father, and Jacob had outwitted Laban the Aramean so that he would not be forewarned of his flight. Thus he got away with all he had. He was soon across the river and heading for Mount Gilead. 3 days later Laban was told that Jacob had fled. Taking his brothers with him, he pursued him for 7 days and overtook him at Mount Gilead. But God appeared to Laban the Aramean in a dream that night and said to him, "On no account say anything whatever to Jacob." Laban caught up with Jacob, who had pitched his tent in the hills, and Laban pitched camp on Mount Gilead. Laban said to Jacob, "What do you mean by outwitting me and then carrying off my daughters like prisoners of war? Why did you flee in secret, stealing away without letting me know, so that I could send you on your way rejoicing, with songs and the music of tambourines and harps? You did not even let me kiss my sons and daughters. You have behaved like a fool. It is in my power to harm you, but the God of your father said to me last night, 'On no account say anything whatever to Jacob.' Now it may be you really went because you had such a longing for your father's house, but why did you steal my gods?" Jacob answered Laban, "I was afraid, thinking you were going to snatch your daughters from me. But whoever is found in possession of your gods shall not remain alive. In the presence of our brothers, examine for yourself what I have, and take what is yours." Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had appropriated them. Laban went into Jacob's tent, and then into Leah's tent and the tent of the 2 slave girls, but he found nothing. He came out of Leah's tent and went into Rachel's. Now Rachel had taken the household idols and put them inside a camel cushion, and was sitting on them. Laban went through everything in the tent, but found nothing. Then Rachel said to her father, "Do not look angry, my lord, because I cannot rise in your presence, for I am as women are from time to time." Laban searched but did not find the idols. Then Jacob lost his temper and took Laban to task. And Jacob said to Laban, "What is my offense? What is my crime, for you to have hounded me like this? You have gone through all my belongings. Have you found anything belonging to your household? Produce it here in the presence of my brothers and yours, and let them decide between the 2 of us. In all the 20 years I was under you, your ewes and your she-goats never miscarried, and I never ate rams from your flock. Those mauled I never brought back to you, but bore the loss myself. You demanded compensation from me, whether the animal was stolen in daylight or at night. In the daytime the heat devoured me, and frost at night. I never had a good night's sleep. It was like this for the 20 years I spent in your household. 14 years I slaved for you for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, since you changed my wages 10 times over. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, the kinsman of Isaac, had not been with me, you would have sent me away empty-handed. But God saw my plight and my labors, and last night he delivered judgment." Laban replied to Jacob, "These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children. This livestock is my livestock. Everything you see belongs to me. But what can I do today about my daughters here, or about the children they have borne? So come, let us make a pact, you and me, and let that serve as a witness between us." Jacob then took a stone and set it up as a memorial. Jacob said to his kinsmen, "Collect some stones," and gathering some stones they made a cairn. They had a meal there, on the cairn, and Laban called it Jegar-sahadutha, while Jacob called it Galeed. Laban said, "May this cairn be a witness between us today." That is why he named it Galeed, and also Mizpah, because he said, "Let Yahweh act as watchman between us when we are no longer in sight of each other. If you ill-treat my daughters or marry other women besides my daughters, even though no one be with us, remember, God is witness between us." Then Laban said to Jacob, "Here is this cairn I have thrown up between us, and here the pillar. This cairn is a witness, and the pillar is a witness, that I am not to cross to your side of this cairn, and you are not to cross to my side of this cairn and pillar, with hostile intent. May the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor judge between us." Then Jacob swore by the kinsman of his father Isaac. He offered a sacrifice on the mountain and invited his kinsmen to the meal. They ate the meal and passed the night on the mountain. Genesis chapter 32. Early next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and daughters and blessed them. Then Laban left to return home. While Jacob was going on his way, angels of God encountered him, and on seeing them he said, "This is God's camp," and he named the place Mahanaim. Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau in Seir, the open country of Edom, with these instructions: "Say this to my lord Esau, here is the message of your servant Jacob. I have been staying with Laban and have been delayed there until now, and I own oxen, beasts of burden and flocks, and men and women slaves. I send news of this to my lord in the hope of winning your favor." The messengers returned to Jacob and told him, "We went to your brother Esau, and he is already on his way to meet you. There are 400 men with him." Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. He divided the people with him, and the flocks and cattle, into 2 camps, thinking, "If Esau comes to one of the camps and attacks it, the remaining camp may be able to escape." Jacob said, "God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, Yahweh who told me, 'Go back to your native land and I will be good to you,' I am unworthy of all the faithful love and constancy you have shown your servant. I had only my staff when I crossed this Jordan, and now I have grown into 2 camps. I implore you, save me from my brother Esau's clutches, for I am afraid that he may come and attack me, mothers and children alike. Yet it was you who said, 'I shall be very good to you, and make your descendants like the sand of the sea, which is too numerous to count.'" Then Jacob passed that night there. From what he had with him he chose a gift for his brother Esau: 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 camels and milk with their calves, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male. He put them in the charge of his servants, in separate droves, and told his servants, "Go ahead of me," leaving a space between each drove and the next. He gave the leading man this order: "When my brother Esau meets you and asks, 'Whose man are you? Where are you going? Whose are those animals that you are driving?' you will answer, 'Your servant Jacob's. They are a gift sent to my lord Esau, and Jacob himself is just behind us." He gave the same order to the second and the third, and to all who were following the droves. "That is what you must say to Esau when you find him. And you must add, 'Your servant Jacob himself is just behind us.' For he thought, 'If I conciliate him by sending a gift in advance, perhaps he will be well inclined towards me when I face him.' The gift went ahead of him, but he himself spent that night in the camp. That same night he got up and, taking his 2 wives, his 2 slave girls and his 11 children, crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he had taken them across the stream, he sent all his possessions over too, and Jacob was left alone. Then someone wrestled with him until daybreak, who, seeing that he could not master him, struck him on the hip socket, and Jacob's hip was dislocated as he wrestled with him. He said, "Let me go, for day is breaking." Jacob replied, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The other said, "What is your name?" "Jacob," he replied. He said, "No longer are you to be called Jacob, but Israel, since you have shown your strength against God and men and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked, "Please tell me your name." He replied, "Why do you ask my name?" With that, he blessed him there. Jacob named the place Peniel, "Because I have seen God face to face," he said, "and have survived." The sun rose as he passed Peniel, limping from his hip. That is why to this day the Israelites do not eat the thigh sinew which is at the hip socket, because he had struck Jacob at the hip socket on the thigh sinew. Genesis chapter 33. Looking up, Jacob saw Esau coming and with him 400 men. He then divided the children between Leah, Rachel, and the 2 slave girls. He put the slave girls and their children in front, with Leah and her children following, and Rachel and Joseph behind. He himself went ahead of them and bowed to the ground 7 times, until he reached his brother. But Esau ran to meet him, took him in his arms, threw himself on his neck and wept as he kissed him. Then looking up he saw the women and children. "Who are these with you?" he asked. Jacob answered, "The children whom God has bestowed on your servant." The slave girls then came up with their children, and they all bowed low. Then Leah too came up with her children, and they all bowed low. Finally Rachel and Joseph came up and bowed low. Esau asked, "What was the purpose of that whole camp I just met?" "To win my Lord's favor," he replied. "Brother, I have plenty," Esau answered. "Keep what is yours." Jacob protested, "No, if I have won your favor, please accept the gift I offer. For in fact I have come into your presence as into the presence of God, since you have received me kindly. So accept the gift I have brought for you, since God has been generous to me and I have all I need." And he urged him, and Esau accepted. Esau said, "Let us break camp and move off. I shall go beside you." But Jacob replied, "As my Lord knows, the children are weak, and the sheep and cows which have calved make it hard for me. If they are driven too hard, even for one day, the whole drove will die. May it please my Lord to go on ahead of his servant. For my part, I shall move at a slower pace, to suit the flock I am driving and the children, until I join my Lord in Seir." Esau then said, "At least let me leave you some of the people who are with me." "What for?" Jacob asked. "Please indulge me, my lord." So that day Esau turned back toward Seir, but Jacob made his way to Succoth, where he built himself a house and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place was given the name of Succoth. Jacob arrived safely at the town of Shechem in Canaanite territory, on his return from Paddan Aram. He encamped opposite the town, and for 100 pieces of silver, he bought from the sons of Hamor father of Shechem the piece of land on which he had pitched his tent. There he erected an altar which he called El, God of Israel. Genesis chapter 34. Dinah, who was Jacob's daughter by Leah, went out to visit some of the women of that region. Shechem son of Hamor the Hivite, headman of the region, saw her, seized her and forced her to sleep with him. He was captivated by Dinah daughter of Jacob. He fell in love with the girl and tried to win her heart. Accordingly Shechem said to his father Hamor, "Get me this girl. I want to marry her." Meanwhile, Jacob had heard how his daughter Dinah had been dishonored, but since his sons were out in the countryside with his livestock, Jacob said nothing until they came back. Hamor father of Shechem was visiting Jacob to discuss the matter with him. When Jacob's sons returned from the countryside and heard the news, the men were outraged and infuriated that Shechem had insulted Israel by sleeping with Jacob's daughter, a thing totally unacceptable. Hamor reasoned with them as follows: "My son Shechem's heart is set on your daughter. Please allow her to marry him. Intermarry with us. Give us your daughters and take our daughters for yourselves. We can live together, and the country will be open to you, for you to live in, and move about in, and acquire holdings. Then Shechem addressed the girl's father and brothers, "Grant me this favor, and I will give you whatever you ask. Demand as high a bride price from me as you please, and I will pay as much as you ask. Only let me marry the girl." Jacob's sons gave Shechem and his father Hamor a crafty answer, speaking as they did because he had dishonored their sister Dinah. "We cannot do this," they said to them. "To give our sister to an uncircumcised man would be a disgrace for us. We can agree only on one condition, that you become like us by circumcising all your males. Then we will give you our daughters, taking yours for ourselves, and we will stay with you to make one nation. But if you will not agree to our terms about being circumcised, we shall take our daughter and go." Hamor and Shechem son of Hamor were pleased with what they heard. The young man did not hesitate about doing this, for he was deeply in love with Jacob's daughter. Moreover, he was the most respected member of his entire family. Hamor and his son Shechem went to the gate of their town and spoke to their fellow townsmen as follows, "These men are friendly. Let them settle in the region and move about freely in it. There is plenty of room here for them. We shall marry their daughters and give our daughters to them. But these men will agree to settle with us and become a single nation only on this condition, that all our males be circumcised like them. Will not the livestock they own, all their animals, become ours? Then let us give our assent to this, so that they can settle with us." All the citizens of the town agreed to the proposal made by Hamor and his son Shechem, and all the males were circumcised. Now on the third day, when the men were still in pain, Jacob's two sons Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword and advanced unopposed against the town and slaughtered all the males. They killed Hamor and his son Shechem with the sword, removed Dinah from Shechem's house and came away. When Jacob's other sons came on the slain, they pillaged the town in reprisal for the dishonoring of their sister. They seized their flocks, cattle, donkeys, everything else in the town and in the countryside, and all their possessions. They took all their children and wives captive and looted everything to be found in the houses. Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have done me an ill turn by bringing me into bad odor with the people of the region, the Canaanites and the Perizzites. I have few men, whereas they will unite against me to defeat me and destroy me and my family." They retorted, "Should our sister be treated like a whore?" Genesis chapter 35. God said to Jacob, "Move on, go to Bethel and settle there. Make an altar there for the God who appeared to you when you were fleeing from your brother Esau." Jacob said to his family and to all who were with him, "Get rid of the foreign gods you have with you. Cleanse yourselves and change your clothes. We must move on and go to Bethel. There I shall make an altar for the God who heard me when I was in distress, and gave me his help on the journey I made." They gave Jacob all the foreign gods in their possession, and the earrings that they were wearing. Jacob buried them under the oak tree near Shechem. They broke camp. A divine terror struck the towns round about, and no one pursued the sons of Jacob. When Jacob arrived at Luz in Canaan, that is, Bethel and all the people with him, he built an altar there and named the place El Bethel, since it was there that God had appeared to him when he was fleeing from his brother. Deborah, who had been Rebekah's nurse, died and was buried below Bethel, under the oak tree. So they named it the Oak of Tears. God again appeared to Jacob on his return from Paddan Aram, and blessed him. God said to him, "Your name is Jacob, but from now on you will be called not Jacob but Israel." Thus he came by the name Israel. God said to him, "I am El Shaddai. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation, indeed an assembly of nations, will descend from you, and kings will issue from your loins. The country which I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I now give to you, and this country I shall give to your descendants after you." Then God went up from him. Jacob raised a monument at the spot where he had spoken to him, a standing stone, on which he made a libation and poured oil. Jacob named the place Bethel where God had spoken to him. They left Bethel, and while they were still some distance from Ephrath, Rachel went into labor, and her pains were severe. When her labor was at its hardest, the midwife said to her, "Do not worry, this is going to be another boy." At the moment when she breathed her last, for she was dying, she named him Benoni. His father, however, named him Benjamin. So Rachel died and was buried on the road to Ephrath, now Bethlehem. Jacob raised a monument on her grave, that same monument of Rachel's tomb which is there today. Israel left and pitched his tent beyond Migdal-eder. While Israel was living in that district, Reuben went and slept with Bilhah his father's concubine, and Israel found out. The sons of Jacob were now 12. The sons of Leah, Jacob's eldest son Reuben, then Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's slave girl, Dan and Naphtali. The sons of Zilpah, Leah's slave girl, Gad and Asher. These were the sons born to Jacob in Paddan Aram. Jacob came home to his father Isaac at Mamre, at Kiriath Arba, now Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had stayed. Isaac was 180 years old when he breathed his last. He died and was gathered to his people, an old man who had enjoyed his full span of life. His sons Esau and Jacob buried him. Genesis chapter 36. These are the descendants of Esau, that is, Edom. Esau chose his wives from the women of Canaan: Adah daughter of Elon the Hittite, Oholibamah daughter of Anna, son of Zibeon the Horite, Basemath daughter of Ishmael and sister of Nebaioth. Adah bore Eliphaz to Esau, Basemath bore Ruel, Oholibamah bore Jush, Jalam and Korah. These were the sons of Esau born to him in Canaan. Esau took his wives, his sons and daughters, all the members of his household, his livestock, all his cattle and all the goods he had acquired in Canaan, and left for Seir, away from his brother Jacob, for they had acquired too much to live together. The land in which they were at that time could not support them both because of their livestock. That is why Edom settled in the mountainous region of Seir. Esau is Edom. These are the descendants of Esau, ancestor of Edom, in the mountainous region of Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz son of Esau's wife Adah, and Ruel son of Esau's wife Basemath. The sons of Eliphaz were Taman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenas. Eliphaz son of Esau had Timnah for concubine, and she bore him Amalek. These were the sons of Esau's wife Adah. These were the sons of Ruel: Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were the sons of Esau's wife Basemath. And these were the sons of Esau's wife Oholibamah daughter of Anna, son of Zibeon. She bore him Jush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the chieftains of Esau. The descendants of Eliphaz, Esau's eldest son, the chieftains of Taman, Omar, Zepho, Kenas, Gatam, and Amalek. These are the chieftains of Eliphaz in Edom and are descended from Adah. The descendants of Esau's son Ruel, the chieftains of Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These are the chieftains of Ruel in Edom and are descended from Esau's wife Basemath. The descendants of Esau's wife Oholibamah, the chieftains of Jush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the chieftains of Esau's wife Oholibamah daughter of Anna. These were the sons of Esau, that is, Edom, and these are their chieftains. These are the sons of Seir the Horite, natives of the country: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anna, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishon. These were the Horite chieftains descended from Seir in Edom. The sons of Lotan were Hori and Hemam, and Lotan's sister was Timnah. These are the sons of Shobal: Alvan, Manahath, Ebal, Shepho, and Onam. These are the sons of Zibeon: Aiah, Anna, the Anna who found the hot springs in the desert while pasturing his father Zibeon's donkeys. These are the children of Anna, Dishon, and Oholibamah daughter of Anna. These are the sons of Dishon, Hemdan, Eshban, Ithran, and Cheran. These are the sons of Ezer, Bilhan, Zavan, and Akan. These are the sons of Dishon, Uzi, and Aaron. These are the Horite chieftains, the chieftains of Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anna, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishon. These are the chieftains of the Horites, by their clans, in Seir. These are the kings who reigned in Edom before an Israelite king. In Edom reigned Bela son of Beer. His city was called Dinhabah. Bela died, and Jobab son of Zerah, from Bozrah, succeeded. Jobab died, and Husham from the land of the Temanites succeeded. Husham died, and Hadad son of Bedad succeeded. He defeated the Midianites in Moab, and his city was called Avith. Hadad died, and Samlah of Masrekah succeeded. Samlah died, and Shaul of Rehoboth-Hanahar succeeded. Shaul died, and Balhanan son of Achbor succeeded. Balhanan died, and Hadad succeeded. His city was called Pau, and his wife's name was Mehetabel daughter of Matred, from Mezahab. These are the names of the chieftains of Esau, according to their clans and localities. The chieftains of Timnah, Alva, Jetheth, Oholibamah, Elah, Pinion, Kenas, Taman, Mibzar, Magdiel, and Iram. These are the chieftains of Edom, as settled in the territory which they own. Esau was Edom's ancestor. Genesis, chapter 37. But Jacob settled in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is the story of Joseph. Joseph was 17 years old. As he was young, he was shepherding the flock with his brothers, with the sons of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. And Joseph brought his father bad reports about them. Jacob loved Joseph more than all his other sons, for he was the son of his old age, and he had a decorated tunic made for him. But his brothers, seeing how much more his father loved him than all his other sons, came to hate him so much that they could not say a civil word to him. Now Joseph had a dream, and he repeated it to his brothers, who then hated him more than ever. "Listen," he said, "to the dream I had. We were binding sheaves in the field, when my sheaf suddenly rose and stood upright, and then your sheaves gathered round and bowed to my sheaf. So you want to be king over us?" His brothers retorted. "You want to lord it over us?" And they hated him even more, on account of his dreams and of what he said. He had another dream which he recounted to his brothers. "Look, I have had another dream," he said. "There were the sun, the moon, and 11 stars, bowing down to me." He told his father and brothers, and his father scolded him. "A fine dream to have," he said to him. "Are all of us then, myself, your mother, and your brothers, to come and bow to the ground before you?" His brothers held it against him, but his father pondered the matter. His brothers went to pasture their father's flock at Shechem. Then Israel said to Joseph, "Your brothers are with the flock at Shechem, aren't they? Come, I am going to send you to them." "I am ready," he replied. He said to him, "Go and see how your brothers and the flock are doing, and bring me word." He sent him from the valley of Hebron, and Joseph arrived at Shechem. A man found him wandering in the countryside and asked him, "What are you looking for?" "I am looking for my brothers," he replied. "Please tell me where they are pasturing their flock." The man answered, "They have moved on from here. Indeed, I heard them say, 'Let us go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them at Dothan. They saw him in the distance, and before he reached them they made a plot to kill him. "Here comes that dreamer," they said to one another. "Come on, let us kill him now and throw him down one of the storage wells. We can say that some wild animal has devoured him. Then we shall see what becomes of his dreams." But Reuben heard, and he saved him from their clutches. "We must not take his life," he said. "Shed no blood," said Reuben to them. "Throw him down that well out in the desert, but do not kill him yourselves, intending to save him from them and to restore him to his father." So, when Joseph reached his brothers, they pulled off his tunic, the decorated tunic which he was wearing, and catching hold of him, threw him into the well. The well was empty, with no water in it. They then sat down to eat. Looking up, they saw a group of Ishmaelites who were coming from Gilead, their camels laden with gum tragacanth, balsam and resin, which they were taking to Egypt. Then Judah said to his brothers, "What do we gain by killing our brother and covering up his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, then we shall not have laid hands on him ourselves. After all, he is our brother, and our own flesh." His brothers agreed. Now some Midianite merchants were passing, and they pulled Joseph out of the well. They sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver, and these men took Joseph to Egypt. When Reuben went back to the well, there was no sign of Joseph. Tearing his clothes, he went back to his brothers. "The boy has gone," he said. "What am I going to do?" They took Joseph's tunic and, slaughtering a goat, dipped the tunic in the blood. Then they sent off the decorated tunic and had it taken to their father, with a message, "This is what we have found. Do you recognize it as your son's tunic or not?" He recognized it and cried, "My son's tunic! A wild animal has devoured him. Joseph has been torn to pieces." Tearing his clothes and putting sackcloth round his waist, Jacob mourned his son for many days. All his sons and daughters tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "I will go down to Sheol in mourning and join my son." Thus his father wept for him. Meanwhile, the Midianites had sold him in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials and commander of the guard. Genesis chapter 38. It happened at about that time that Judah left his brothers to go down and settle with a certain Adulamite called Hira. There Judah saw the daughter of a Canaanite called Shua. He made her his wife and slept with her. She conceived and gave birth to a son whom she named Er. She conceived again and gave birth to a son whom she named Onan. Yet again she gave birth to a son whom she named Shelah. She was at Chezib when she gave birth to him. Judah took a wife for his firstborn Er, and her name was Tamar. But Er, Judah's firstborn, offended Yahweh, and Yahweh killed him. Then Judah said to Onan, "Take your brother's wife, and do your duty as her brother-in-law, to maintain your brother's line." But Onan, knowing that the line would not count as his, spilt his seed on the ground every time he slept with his brother's wife, to avoid providing offspring for his brother. What he did was offensive to Yahweh, who killed him too. Then Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Go home as a widow to your father, until my son Shelah grows up," for he was thinking, he must not die like his brothers. So Tamar went home to her father. A long time passed, and then Shua's daughter, the wife of Judah, died. After Judah had been comforted, he went up to Timnah for the shearing of his sheep, he and his friend Hira the Adulamite. When Tamar was told, "Look, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah for the shearing of his sheep," she changed out of her widow's clothes, wrapped a veil around her to disguise herself, and sat down at the entrance to Enaim, which is on the way to Timnah. For she saw that, although Shelah was grown up, she had not been given to him as his wife. Judah, seeing her, took her for a prostitute, since her face was veiled. Going up to her on the road, he said, "Here, let me sleep with you." He did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. "What will you give me for sleeping with you?" she asked. "I will send you a kid from the flock," he said. "Agreed, if you give me a pledge until you send it," she replied. "What pledge shall I give you?" he asked. "Your seal and cord and the staff you are holding," she replied. He gave them to her and slept with her, and she conceived by him. Then she got up and left him and, taking off her veil, resumed her widow's weeds. Judah sent the kid by his friend the Adulamite to recover the pledge from the woman, but he did not find her. He inquired from the men of the place, "Where is the prostitute who was by the roadside at Enaim?" "There has been no prostitute there," they answered. So returning to Judah he said, "I did not find her. What is more, the men of the place told me there had been no prostitute there." "Let her keep the things," Judah said, "or we shall become a laughingstock. At least I sent her this kid, even though you did not find her." About 3 months later, Judah was told, "Your daughter-in-law has played the harlot. Furthermore, she is pregnant as a result of her misconduct. Bring her out," Judah ordered, "and let her be burnt alive." But as she was being led off, she sent word to her father-in-law, "It was the owner of these who made me pregnant. Please verify," she said, "whose seal and cord and staff these are." Judah recognized them and said, "She was right and I was wrong, since I did not give her to my son Shelah." He had no further intercourse with her. When the time for her confinement came, there were twins in her womb. During the delivery, one of them put out a hand, and the midwife caught it and tied a scarlet thread to it, indicating that this was the first to arrive. Whereupon, he drew back his hand, and out came his brother. Then she said, "What a breach you have opened for yourself." So he was named Perez. Then his brother came out with the scarlet thread on his hand. So he was named Zerah. Genesis chapter 39. Now Joseph had been taken down into Egypt. Potiphar the Egyptian, one of Pharaoh's officials and commander of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him down there. Yahweh was with Joseph, and everything he undertook was successful. He lodged in the house of his Egyptian master, and when his master saw how Yahweh was with him and how Yahweh made everything he undertook successful, he was pleased with Joseph and made him his personal attendant, and his master put him in charge of his household, entrusting him with all his possessions. And from the time he put him in charge of his household and all his possessions, Yahweh blessed the Egyptian's household out of consideration for Joseph. Yahweh's blessing extended to all his possessions, both household and estate. So he left Joseph to handle all his possessions, and with him there, concerned himself with nothing beyond the food he ate. Now Joseph was well built and handsome, and it happened some time later that his master's wife cast her eyes on Joseph and said, "Sleep with me." But he refused. "Look," he said to his master's wife, "with me here, my master does not concern himself with what happens in the house, having entrusted all his possessions to me. He himself wields no more authority in this house than I do. He has exempted nothing from me except yourself, because you are his wife. How could I do anything so wicked and sin against God?" Although she spoke to Joseph day after day, he would not agree to sleep with her or be with her. But one day when Joseph came into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the household happened to be indoors, she caught hold of him by his tunic and said, "Sleep with me." But he left the tunic in her hand, took to his heels and got out. When she saw that he had left the tunic in her hands as he ran out, she called her servants and said to them, "Look at this. My husband brought in a Hebrew to make a fool of me. He burst in on me, but I screamed, and when he heard me scream, he left his tunic beside me and ran out of the house." She kept his tunic by her until his master came home. Then she told him the same tale. "The Hebrew slave you brought to us burst in on me to make a fool of me. But when I screamed, he left his tunic beside me and ran away." When his master heard his wife say, "This was how your slave treated me," he became furious. Joseph's master had him arrested and committed to the jail where the king's prisoners were kept. And there in jail he stayed. But Yahweh was with Joseph. He showed him faithful love and made him popular with the chief jailer. The chief jailer put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners in the jail, making him responsible for everything done there. The chief jailer did not bother about anything put in his charge, since Yahweh was with him, and Yahweh made everything he undertook successful. Genesis chapter 40. It happened some time later that the king of Egypt's cupbearer and his baker offended their master the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was angry with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them in custody in the house of the commander of the guard, in the jail where Joseph was a prisoner. The commander of the guard assigned Joseph to them to attend to their wants, and they remained in custody for some time. Now both of them had dreams on the same night, each with its own meaning for the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were prisoners in the jail. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they looked gloomy, and he asked the two officials who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why these sad looks today?" They replied, "We have each had a dream, but there is no one to interpret it. Are not interpretations God's business?" Joseph asked them, "Tell me about them." So the chief cupbearer described his dream to Joseph, telling him, "In my dream there was a vine in front of me. On the vine were 3 branches. No sooner had it budded than it blossomed, and its clusters became ripe grapes. I had Pharaoh's cup in my hand. I picked the grapes and squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup into Pharaoh's hand." "This is what it means," Joseph told him. "The 3 branches are 3 days. In another 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head by restoring you to your position. Then you will hand Pharaoh his cup, as you did before, when you were his cupbearer. But be sure to remember me when things go well with you, and keep faith with me by kindly reminding Pharaoh about me, to get me out of this house. I was kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews in the first place, and even here I have done nothing to warrant being put in the dungeon." The chief baker, seeing that the interpretation had been favorable, said to Joseph, "I too had a dream. There were 3 wicker trays on my head. In the top tray there were all kinds of pastries for Pharaoh, such as a baker might make, and the birds were eating them off the tray on my head." Joseph replied as follows, "This is what it means. The 3 trays are 3 days. In another 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head by hanging you on a gallows, and the birds will eat the flesh off your bones." And so it happened. The 3rd day was Pharaoh's birthday, and he gave a banquet for all his officials. Of his officials he lifted up the head of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, the chief cupbearer by restoring him to his cupbearing, so that he again handed Pharaoh his cup, and by hanging the chief baker, as Joseph had explained to them. But the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph. He had forgotten him. Genesis chapter 41. 2 years later it happened that Pharaoh had a dream. There he was, standing by the Nile, and there, coming up from the Nile, were 7 cows, sleek and fat, and they began to feed among the rushes. And then 7 other cows, wretched and lean, came up from the Nile, behind them, and these went over and stood beside the other cows on the bank of the Nile. The wretched and lean cows ate the 7 sleek and fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. He fell asleep and dreamed a second time. There, growing on one stalk, were 7 ears of grain, full and ripe, and then sprouting up, behind them, came 7 ears of grain, meager and scorched by the east wind. The scanty ears of grain swallowed the 7 full and ripe ears of grain. Then Pharaoh woke up. It had been a dream. In the morning Pharaoh, feeling disturbed, had all the magicians and wise men of Egypt summoned to him. Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was no one to interpret it for Pharaoh. Then the chief cupbearer addressed Pharaoh, "Today, I recall having been at fault. When Pharaoh was angry with his servants, he put myself and the chief baker in custody in the house of the commander of the guard. We had a dream on the same night, he and I, and each man's dream had a meaning for himself. There was a young Hebrew with us, one of the slaves belonging to the commander of the guard. We told our dreams to him and he interpreted them for us, telling each of us what his dream meant. It turned out exactly according to his interpretation. I was restored to my position, but the other man was hanged." Then Pharaoh had Joseph summoned, and they hurried him from the dungeon. He shaved and changed his clothes, and presented himself before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have had a dream, and there is no one to interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that you can interpret a dream the instant you hear it. Not I, Joseph replied to Pharaoh. God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer. So Pharaoh told Joseph, In my dream there I was, standing on the bank of the Nile, and there were 7 cows, fat and sleek, coming up out of the Nile, and they began to feed among the rushes. And then 7 other cows came up, behind them, starved, very wretched and lean. I have never seen such poor cows in all Egypt. The lean and wretched cows ate up the first 7 fat cows. But when they had eaten them up, it was impossible to tell they had eaten them, for they looked as wretched as ever. Then I woke up, and then again in my dream, there, growing on one stalk, were 7 ears of grain, beautifully ripe. But then sprouting up behind them came 7 ears of grain, withered, meager, and scorched by the east wind. Then the shriveled ears of grain swallowed the 7 ripe ears of grain. I have told the magicians, but no one has given me the answer. Joseph said to Pharaoh, Pharaoh's dreams are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is going to do. The 7 fine cows are 7 years, and the 7 ripe ears of grain are 7 years. It is one and the same dream. The 7 gaunt and lean cows coming up behind them are 7 years. As are the 7 shriveled ears of grain scorched by the east wind. There will be 7 years of famine. It is as I have told Pharaoh. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is going to do. 7 years are coming, bringing great plenty to the whole of Egypt. But 7 years of famine will follow them, when all the plenty in Egypt will be forgotten, and famine will exhaust the land. The famine that is to follow will be so very severe that no one will remember what plenty the country used to enjoy. The reason why Pharaoh had the same dream twice is that the event is already determined by God, and God will shortly bring it about. Pharaoh should now find someone intelligent and wise to govern Egypt. Pharaoh should take action and appoint supervisors for the country, and impose a tax of 1/5 on Egypt during the 7 years of plenty. They will collect all the food produced during these good years that are coming, and store the grain under Pharaoh's authority, putting it in the towns and keeping it. This food will form a reserve for the country against the 7 years of famine which are coming on Egypt, so that the country will not be destroyed by the famine. Pharaoh and all his ministers approved of what he had said. Then Pharaoh asked his ministers, Can we find anyone else endowed with the Spirit of God, like him? So Pharaoh said to Joseph, Since God has given you knowledge of all this, there can be no one as intelligent and wise as you. You shall be my chancellor, and all my people shall respect your orders. Only this throne shall set me above you. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I hereby make you governor of the whole of Egypt. Pharaoh took the ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain round his neck. He made him ride in the best chariot he had after his own, and they shouted "Abrek" ahead of him. Thus he became governor of the whole of Egypt. Pharaoh said to Joseph, Although I am Pharaoh, no one is to move hand or foot without your permission throughout Egypt. Pharaoh named Joseph Zaphanath-Paneah, and gave him Asenath daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, to be his wife. And Joseph began to journey all over Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh king of Egypt. After leaving Pharaoh's presence, Joseph traveled throughout the length and breadth of Egypt. During the 7 years of plenty, the soil yielded generously. He collected all the food of the 7 years while there was an abundance in Egypt, and stored the food in the towns, placing in each the food from the surrounding countryside. Joseph gathered in grain like the sand of the sea, in such quantity that he gave up keeping count, since it was past accounting. Before the year of famine came, 2 sons were born to Joseph. Asenath daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bore him these. Joseph named the firstborn Manasseh, because, he said, God has made me completely forget my hardships and my father's house. He named the second Ephraim, because, he said, God has made me fruitful in the country of my misfortune. Then the 7 years of plenty that there had been in Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine set in, as Joseph had predicted. There was famine in every country, but throughout Egypt there was food. But when all Egypt too began to feel the famine and the people appealed to Pharaoh for food, Pharaoh told all the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph and do whatever he tells you." There was famine all over the world. Then Joseph opened all the granaries and rationed out grain to the Egyptians. As the famine grew even worse in Egypt, people came to Egypt from all over the world to get supplies from Joseph, for the famine had grown severe throughout the world. Genesis chapter 42. Jacob, seeing that there were supplies to be had in Egypt, said to his sons, "Why do you keep staring at one another? I hear," he said, "that there are supplies in Egypt. Go down and procure some for us there, so that we may survive and not die." So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to procure grain in Egypt. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers. Nothing must happen to him, he thought. Thus the sons of Israel were among the other people who came to get supplies, there being famine in Canaan. It was Joseph, as the man in authority over the country, who allocated the rations to the entire population. So Joseph's brothers went and bowed down before him, their faces touching the ground. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them. But he did not make himself known to them, and he spoke harshly to them. "Where have you come from?" he asked. "From Canaan to get food," they replied. Now when Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him, Joseph remembered the dreams he had had about them, and said to them, "You are spies. You have come to discover the country's weak points." "No, my lord," they said, "your servants have come to get food. We are all sons of the same man. We are honest men. Your servants are not spies." "Oh no," he replied, "you have come to discover the country's weak points. Your servants were 12 brothers," they said, "sons of the same man in Canaan. But the youngest is at present with our father, and the other one is no more." To which Joseph retorted, "It is as I said, you are spies. This is the test you are to undergo. As sure as Pharaoh lives, you shall not leave unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of your number to fetch your brother. You others will remain under arrest, so that your statements can be tested to see whether or not you are honest. If not, then as sure as Pharaoh lives, you are spies." Whereupon he put them all into custody for 3 days. On the 3rd day Joseph said to them, "Do this and you will live, for I am a man who fears God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers be detained where you are imprisoned. The rest of you, go and take supplies home for your starving families. But you must bring your youngest brother back to me. In this way, what you have said will be verified, and you will not have to die." And this is what they did. And they said to one another, "Clearly, we are being punished for what we did to our brother. We saw his deep misery when he pleaded with us, but we would not listen, and now this misery has come home to us." Reuben retorted to them, "Did I not tell you not to wrong the boy? But you would not listen. Now comes the accounting." They did not know that Joseph understood, because there was an interpreter between them. He turned away from them and wept. When he was able to speak to them again, he chose Simeon out of their number and had him bound while they looked on. Joseph gave the order to fill their panniers with grain, to put back each man's money in his sack, and to give them provisions for the journey. This was done for them. Then they loaded their supplies on their donkeys and went away. But when they camped for the night, one of them opened his sack to give his donkey some fodder and saw his money. There it was in the mouth of his sack. He said to his brothers, "My money has been put back. Here it is in my sack." Their hearts sank, and they looked at one another in panic, saying, "What is this that God has done to us?" Returning to their father Jacob in Canaan, they gave him a full report of what had happened to them. "The man who is lord of the country spoke harshly to us, accusing us of spying on the country. We told him, We are honest men, we are not spies. We were 12 brothers, sons of the same father. One of us is no more, and the youngest is at present with our father in Canaan. But the man who is lord of the country said to us, This is how I shall know whether you are honest. Leave one of your brothers with me. Take supplies for your starving families and be gone. But bring me back your youngest brother, and then I shall know that you are not spies but honest men. Then I shall give your brother back to you, and you will be free to move about the country. As they emptied their sacks, each discovered his bag of money in his sack. On seeing their bags of money they were afraid, and so was their father. Then their father Jacob said to them, You are robbing me of my children. Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and now you want to take Benjamin. I bear the brunt of all this. Then Reuben said to his father, You may put my 2 sons to death if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my care, and I will bring him back to you. But he replied, My son is not going down with you, for now his brother is dead, he is the only one left. If any harm came to him on the journey you are undertaking, you would send my white head down to Sheol with grief. Genesis chapter 43. But the famine in the country grew worse, and when they had finished eating the supplies which they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, Go back and get us a little food. But Judah replied, The man expressly warned us, You will not be admitted to my presence unless your brother is with you. If you are ready to send our brother with us, we will go down and get food for you. But if you are not ready to send him, we will not go down. In view of the man's warning, you will not be admitted to my presence unless your brother is with you. Then Israel said, Why did you bring this misery on me by telling the man you had another brother? They replied, He kept questioning us about ourselves and our family, asking, Is your father still alive? And, Have you another brother? That is why we told him. How could we know he was going to say, Bring your brother down here? Judah then said to his father Israel, Send the boy with me, and let us be off and go, if we are to survive and not die, we, you, and our dependents. I will go surety for him, and you can hold me responsible for him. If I do not bring him back to you and produce him before you, let me bear the blame all my life. Indeed, if we had not wasted so much time, we should have been there and back twice by now. Then their father Israel said to them, If it must be so, then do this. Take some of the country's best products in your baggage and take them to the man as a gift. Some balsam, some honey, gum tragacanth, resin, pistachio nuts, and almonds. Take double the amount of money with you and return the money put back in the mouths of your sacks. It may have been a mistake. Take your brother, and go back to the man. May El Shaddai move the man to be kind to you, and allow you to bring back your other brother and Benjamin. As for me, if I must be bereaved, bereaved I must be. The men took this gift. They took double the amount of money with them, and Benjamin. They set off, went down to Egypt, and presented themselves before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to his chamberlain, Take these men into the house. Slaughter a beast and prepare it, for these men are to eat with me at midday. The man did as Joseph had ordered, and took the men to Joseph's house. The men were afraid of being taken to Joseph's house and said, We are being taken there because of the money replaced in our sacks the first time. They will set on us. They will fall on us and make slaves of us, and take our donkeys too. So they went up to Joseph's chamberlain and spoke to him at the entrance to the house. By your leave, sir, they said, we came down once before to get supplies, and when we reached camp and opened our sacks, there was each man's money in the mouth of his sack to the full. But we have brought it back with us, and we have brought more money with us for the supplies. We do not know who put our money in our sacks. Set your minds at ease, he replied. Do not be afraid. Your God and the God of your father put treasure in your sacks for you. I received your money, and he brought Simeon out to them. The man then took the men into Joseph's house. He offered them water to wash their feet, and gave their donkeys fodder. They arranged their gift while they waited for Joseph to come at midday, for they had heard they were to dine there. When Joseph arrived at the house, they offered him the gift they had with them, bowing low before him. He greeted them pleasantly, asking, "Is your father well, the old man you told me of? Is he still alive?" "Your servant our father is well," they replied. "He is still alive." And they bowed respectfully. Looking about, he saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son. "Is this your youngest brother?" he asked, "of whom you told me?" And he added, "God be good to you, my son." Joseph hurried out. So strong was the affection he felt for his brother that he wanted to cry. He went into his room, and there he wept. After washing his face, he returned and, controlling himself, gave the order, "Serve the meal." He was served separately. So were they, and so were the Egyptians who ate in his household. For the Egyptians could not take food with Hebrews. Egyptians have a horror of doing so. They were placed facing him in order of seniority, from the eldest to the youngest, and the men looked at one another in amazement. He had portions carried to them from his own dish, the portion for Benjamin being 5 times larger than any of the others. And they feasted with him and drank freely. Genesis chapter 44. Then Joseph instructed his chamberlain as follows, "Fill these men's sacks with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of his sack. And put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, as well as the money for his rations." He did as Joseph had instructed. At daybreak, the men were sent off with their donkeys. They had gone only a little way from the city, when Joseph said to his chamberlain, "Away now and follow those men. When you catch up with them, say to them, 'Why have you repaid good with evil? Is this not what my lord uses for drinking and also for reading omens? What you have done is wrong.'" So when he caught up with them, he repeated these words. They asked him, "What does my lord mean? Your servants would never think of doing such a thing. Look, we brought you back the money we found in the mouths of our sacks, all the way from Canaan. Are we likely to have stolen silver or gold from your master's house? Whichever of your servants is found to have it shall die, and the rest of us shall be slaves of my lord." "Very well, then, it shall be as you say," he replied. "The one on whom it is found shall become my slave, but the rest of you can go free." Each of them quickly lowered his sack to the ground, and each opened his own. He searched, beginning with the eldest and ending with the youngest, and found the cup in Benjamin's sack. Then they tore their clothes, and when each man had reloaded his donkey, they returned to the city. When Judah and his brothers arrived at Joseph's house, he was still there. So they fell on the ground in front of him. "What do you mean by doing this?" Joseph asked them. "Did you not know that a man such as I am is a reader of omens? What can we answer, my lord?" Judah replied, "What can we say? How can we clear ourselves? God himself has uncovered your servant's guilt. Here we are then, my lord's slaves. We know less than the one in whose possession the cup was found." "I could not think of doing such a thing," he replied. "The man in whose possession the cup was found shall be my slave, but you can go back unhindered to your father." At this, Judah went up to him and said, "May it please my lord, let your servant have a word privately with my lord. Do not be angry with your servant, for you are like Pharaoh himself." My lord questioned his servants, "Have you father or brother?" And we said to my lord, "We have an old father, and a younger brother born of his old age. His brother is dead, so he is the only one by that mother now left, and his father loves him." Then you said to your servants, "Bring him down to me, so that I can set eyes on him." We replied to my lord, "The boy cannot leave his father. If he leaves him, his father will die." But you said to your servants, "If your youngest brother does not come down with you, you will not be admitted to my presence again." When we went back to your servant my father, we repeated to him what my lord had said. So when our father said, "Go back and get us a little food," we said, "We cannot go down. We shall go only if our youngest brother is with us, for, unless our youngest brother is with us, we shall not be admitted to the man's presence." So your servant our father said to us, "You know that my wife bore me 2 children. When one of them left me, I suppose that he must have been torn to pieces, and I have never seen him since. If you take this one for me too, and any harm comes to him, you will send my white head down to Sheol with grief. If I go to your servant my father now, and we do not have the boy with us, he will die as soon as he sees that the boy is not with us, for his heart is bound up with him. And your servants will have sent your servant our father's white head down to Sheol with grief. Now your servant went surety to my father for the boy. I said, If I do not bring him back to you, let me bear the blame before my father all my life. Let your servant stay, then, as my lord's slave in place of the boy, I implore you, and let the boy go back with his brothers. How indeed could I go back to my father and not have the boy with me? I could not bear to see the misery that would overwhelm my father." Genesis chapter 45. Then Joseph could not control his feelings in front of all his retainers, and he exclaimed, "Let everyone leave me." No one therefore was present with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. But he wept so loudly that all the Egyptians heard, and the news reached Pharaoh's palace. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father really still alive?" His brothers could not answer him. They were so dumbfounded at seeing him. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come closer to me." When they had come closer to him, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. But now, do not grieve, do not reproach yourselves for having sold me here, since God sent me before you to preserve your lives. For this is the 2nd year there has been famine in the country, and there are still 5 years to come without plowing or harvest. God sent me before you to assure the survival of your race on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So it was not you who sent me here but God, and he has set me up as a father to Pharaoh, as lord of all his household and governor of the whole of Egypt. Return quickly to your father and tell him, your son Joseph says this, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me without delay. You will live in the region of Goshen, where you will be near me, you, your children and your grandchildren, your flocks, your cattle and all your possessions. There I shall provide for you, for there are 5 years of famine still to come, so that you, your household and all yours are not reduced to penury. You can see with your own eyes, and my brother Benjamin can see too, that I am who I say I am. Give my father a full report of all the honor I enjoy in Egypt, and of all you have seen, and quickly bring my father down here." Then throwing his arms round the neck of his brother Benjamin, he wept, and Benjamin wept on his shoulder. He kissed all his brothers, weeping on each one. Only then were his brothers able to talk to him. News reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, and Pharaoh was pleased to hear it, as were his servants. Pharaoh told Joseph, "Say to your brothers, do this. Load your beasts and hurry away to Canaan. Fetch your father and your families, and come back to me. I will give you the best territory in Egypt, where you will live off the fat of the land. And you, for your part, give them this order. Do this. Take wagons from Egypt, for your little ones and your wives. Get your father and come. Never mind about your property, for the best of all Egypt will be yours." Israel's sons did as they were told. Joseph gave them wagons as Pharaoh had ordered, and he gave them provisions for the journey. To each and every one he gave new clothes, and to Benjamin 300 shekels of silver and 5 changes of clothes. And to his father he sent 10 donkeys laden with the best that Egypt offered, and 10 she-donkeys laden with grain, bread and food for his father's journey. And so he sent his brothers on their way. His final words to them were, "And let there be no upsets on the way." And so they left Egypt. When they reached their father Jacob in Canaan, they gave him this report, Joseph is still alive. He is at this moment governor of all Egypt. But he was as one stunned, for he did not believe them. However, when they told him all Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to fetch him, the spirit of their father Jacob revived, and Israel said, "That is enough. My son Joseph is still alive. I must go and see him before I die." Genesis chapter 46. So Israel set out with all his possessions. Arriving at Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. God spoke to Israel in a vision at night. "Jacob, Jacob," he said. "Here I am," he replied. "I am El, God of your father," he said. "Do not be afraid of going down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I shall go down to Egypt with you, and I myself shall bring you back again, and Joseph's hand will close your eyes." So Jacob left Beersheba. Israel's sons conveyed their father Jacob, their little children and their wives in the wagons Pharaoh had sent to fetch him. Taking their livestock and all that they had acquired in Canaan, they arrived in Egypt, Jacob and all his offspring. With him to Egypt, he brought his sons and grandsons, his daughters and granddaughters, all his offspring. These were the names of the Israelites, Jacob and his descendants, who arrived in Egypt: Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and the sons of Reuben: Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon: Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul the son of the Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi: Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah: Er, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. Er and Onan had died in Canaan, and Hezron and Hamel sons of Perez. The sons of Issachar: Tola, Puvah, Jashub, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun: Sered, Elon, and Yaliel. These were the sons that Leah had borne to Jacob in Paddan Aram, besides his daughter Dinah. In all, his sons and daughters numbered 33. The sons of Gad: Ziphion, Haggi, Shuni, Esban, Eri, Arodi, and Areli. The sons of Asher: Jimnah, Jishva, Jishvi, Beriah, with their sister Sarah. The sons of Beriah: Heber and Malchiel. These were the sons of Zilpah whom Laban gave to his daughter Leah. She bore these to Jacob, 16 persons. The sons of Rachel wife of Jacob: Joseph and Benjamin. Born to Joseph in Egypt were Manasseh and Ephraim sons of Asenath, daughter of Potipharah priest of On. The sons of Benjamin: Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ahi, Rosh, Muppim, Huppim, and Ard. These were the sons that Rachel bore to Jacob, 14 persons in all. The sons of Dan: Hushim. The sons of Naphtali: Jaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shillem. These were the sons of Bilhah whom Laban gave to his daughter Rachel. She bore these to Jacob, 7 persons in all. Altogether, the members of Jacob's family who arrived with him in Egypt, his own issue, not counting the wives of Jacob's sons, numbered 66 all told. With Joseph's sons born to him in Egypt, 2 persons. The members of Jacob's family who went to Egypt totaled 70. Israel sent Judah ahead to Joseph, so that Judah might present himself to Joseph in Goshen. When they arrived in Goshen, Joseph had his chariot made ready and went up to Goshen to meet his father Israel. As soon as he appeared, he threw his arms round his neck and for a long time wept on his shoulder. Israel said to Joseph, "Now I can die, now that I have seen you in person and seen you still alive." Then Joseph said to his brothers and his father's family, "I shall go back and break the news to Pharaoh. I shall tell him, 'My brothers and my father's family who were in Canaan have come to me. The men are shepherds and look after livestock, and they have brought their flocks and cattle and all their possessions.' Thus, when Pharaoh summons you and asks, 'What is your occupation?' you are to say, 'Ever since our boyhood your servants have looked after livestock, we and our fathers before us, so that you can stay in the Goshen region, for the Egyptians have a horror of all shepherds. Genesis chapter 47. So Joseph went and told Pharaoh, "My father and brothers have arrived from Canaan with their flocks and cattle and all their possessions. Here they are, in the region of Goshen." He had taken 5 of his brothers, and he now presented them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked his brothers, "What is your occupation?" And they gave Pharaoh the answer, "Your servants are shepherds, like our fathers before us." They went on to tell Pharaoh, "We have come to stay in this country for the time being, since there is no pasturage for your servants' flocks, Canaan being stricken with famine. So now please allow your servants to settle in the region of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "They may stay in the region of Goshen, and if you know of any capable men among them, put them in charge of my own livestock." Jacob and his sons went to Egypt where Joseph was. Pharaoh king of Egypt heard about this and said to Joseph, "Your father and brothers have come to you. The country of Egypt is open to you. Settle your father and brothers in the best region. The country of Egypt is open to you. Settle your father and brothers in the best region." Joseph brought his father and presented him to Pharaoh. Jacob paid his respects to Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked Jacob, "How many years have you lived?" Jacob said to Pharaoh, "The years of my stay on earth add up to 130 years. Few and unhappy my years have been, falling short of my ancestors' years in their stay on earth." Jacob then took leave of Pharaoh and withdrew from his presence. Joseph then settled his father and brothers, giving them land holdings in Egypt, in the best part of the country, the region of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had ordered. Joseph provided his father, brothers, and all his father's family with food, down to the least of them. And on all the earth around there was now no food anywhere, for the famine had grown very severe, and Egypt and Canaan were both weak with hunger. Joseph accumulated all the money to be found in Egypt and Canaan, in exchange for the supplies being handed out, and put the money in Pharaoh's palace. When all the money in Egypt and Canaan was exhausted, all the Egyptians came to Joseph, pleading, "Give us food, unless you want us to die before your eyes, for our money has come to an end." Joseph replied, "Hand over your livestock, and I shall issue you food in exchange for your livestock, if your money has come to an end." So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them food in exchange for horses and livestock, whether sheep or cattle, and for donkeys. Thus he saw them through that year with food in exchange for all their livestock. When that year was over, they came to him the next year, and said to him, "We cannot hide it from my lord. The truth is, our money has run out and the livestock is in my lord's possession. There is nothing left for my lord except our bodies and our land. If we and our land are not to perish, take us and our land in exchange for food, and we with our land will become Pharaoh's serfs. Only give us seed, so that we can survive and not die and the land not revert to desert." Thus Joseph acquired all the land in Egypt for Pharaoh, since one by one the Egyptians sold their fields, so hard-pressed were they by the famine, and the whole country passed into Pharaoh's possession, while the people he reduced to serfdom from one end of Egypt to the other. The only land he did not acquire belonged to the priests, for the priests received an allowance from Pharaoh and lived on the allowance that Pharaoh gave them. Hence they had no need to sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, "This is how we stand. I have bought you out, with your land, on Pharaoh's behalf. Here is seed for you to sow the land. But of the harvest you must give 1/5 to Pharaoh. The other 4/5 you can have for sowing your fields, to provide food for yourselves and your households, and food for your children." "You have saved our lives," they replied. "If it please my lord, we will become serfs to Pharaoh." So Joseph made a law, still in force today, as regards the soil of Egypt, that 1/5 should go to Pharaoh. Only the land of the priests did not go to Pharaoh. Thus Israel settled in Egypt, in the region of Goshen. They acquired property there. They were fruitful and grew very numerous. Jacob lived 17 years in Egypt. Thus Jacob's total age came to 147 years. When Israel's time to die drew near, he sent for his son Joseph and said to him, "If you really love me, place your hand under my thigh as pledge that you will act with faithful love towards me. Do not bury me in Egypt. When I lie down with my ancestors, carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their tomb." "I shall do as you say," he replied. "Swear to me," he insisted. So he swore to him, and Israel sank back on the pillow. Genesis chapter 48. Sometime later, Joseph was informed, "Your father has been taken ill." So he took with him his 2 sons Manasseh and Ephraim. When Jacob was told, "Look, your son Joseph has come to you," Israel, summoning his strength, sat up in bed. "El Shaddai appeared to me at Luz in Canaan," Jacob told Joseph, "and he blessed me, saying to me, I shall make you fruitful and numerous, and shall make you into an assembly of peoples and give this country to your descendants after you, to own in perpetuity. Now your 2 sons, born to you in Egypt before I came to you in Egypt, shall be mine. Ephraim and Manasseh shall be as much mine as Reuben and Simeon. But with regard to the children you have had since them, they shall be yours, and they shall be known by their brothers' names for the purpose of their inheritance. When I was on my way from Paddan, to my sorrow death took your mother Rachel from me in Canaan, on the journey while only a short distance from Ephrath. I buried her there on the road to Ephrath, now Bethlehem. When Israel saw Joseph's 2 sons, he asked, "Who are these?" "They are my sons, whom God has given me here," Joseph told his father. "Then bring them to me," he said, "so that I may bless them." Now Israel's eyes were dim with age, and he could not see. So Joseph made them come closer to him, and he kissed and embraced them. Then Israel said to Joseph, "I did not think I should ever see you again, and now God has let me see your children as well." Then Joseph took them from his lap and bowed to the ground. Then Joseph took the 2 of them, Ephraim with his right hand so that he should be on Israel's left, and Manasseh with his left hand, so that he should be on Israel's right, and brought them close to him. But Israel held out his right hand and laid it on the head of Ephraim, the younger, and his left on the head of Manasseh, crossing his hands. Manasseh was, in fact, the elder. Then he blessed Joseph, saying, "May the God in whose presence my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd from my birth until this day, the angel who has saved me from all harm, bless these boys, so that my name may live on in them, and the names of my ancestors Abraham and Isaac, and they grow into teeming multitudes on earth." Joseph saw that his father was laying his right hand on the head of Ephraim, and this he thought was wrong. So he took his father's hand and tried to shift it from the head of Ephraim to the head of Manasseh. Joseph protested to his father, "Not like that, father. This one is the elder. Put your right hand on his head." But his father refused. "I know, my son, I know," he said. "He too shall become a people. He too will be great. But his younger brother will be greater. His offspring will be sufficient to constitute nations." So he blessed them that day, saying, "By you shall Israel bless itself," saying, "God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh," putting Ephraim before Manasseh. Then Israel said to Joseph, "Now I am about to die. But God will be with you and take you back to the land of your ancestors. As for me, I give you a Shechem more than your brothers, the one I took from the Amorites with my sword and bow." Genesis chapter 49. Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather round, so that I can tell you what is in store for you in the final days. Gather round, sons of Jacob, and listen. Listen to Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my vigor, and the firstfruit of my manhood, foremost in pride, foremost in strength, uncontrolled as water. You will not be foremost, for you climbed into your father's bed, and so defiled my couch, to my sorrow. Simeon and Levi are brothers in carrying out their malicious plans. May my soul not enter their counsel, nor my heart join their company. For in their rage they have killed men and hamstrung oxen at their whim. Accursed be their rage for its ruthlessness, their wrath for its ferocity. I shall disperse them in Jacob. I shall scatter them through Israel. Judah, your brothers will praise you. You grip your enemies by the neck. Your father's sons will do you homage. Judah is a lion's whelp. You stand over your prey, my son. Like a lion he crouches and lies down, a mighty lion. Who dare rouse him? The scepter shall not pass from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute be brought him and the peoples render him obedience. He tethers his donkey to the vine, to its stock the foal of his she-donkey. He washes his clothes in wine, his robes in the blood of the grape. His eyes are darkened with wine, and his teeth are white with milk. Zebulun will live by the seashore and be a sailor on board the ships, with Sidon on his flank. Issachar is a strong donkey lying down among sheepfolds. When he saw how good the resting place and how pleasant the country, he bowed his shoulder to the load and became a slave to forced labor. Dan will govern his people like any other of the tribes of Israel. May Dan be a snake on the road, a viper on the path, who bites the horse on the hock so that its rider falls off backwards. I long for your deliverance, Yahweh. Gad will be raided by raiders, and he will raid at their heels. Rich the food produced by Asher. He will furnish food fit for kings. Naphtali is a swift hind bearing lovely fawns. Joseph is a fruitful plant near a spring whose tendrils reach over the wall. Archers in their hostility drew their bows and attacked him. But their bows were broken by a mighty one. The sinews of their arms were snapped by the power of the mighty one of Jacob, by the name of the stone of Israel, the God of your father who assists you, El Shaddai who blesses you. Blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep lying below, blessings of the breasts and womb, blessings of the grain and flowers, blessings of the eternal mountains, bounty of the everlasting hills. May they descend on Joseph's head, on the crown of the one dedicated. From among his brothers, Benjamin is a ravening wolf. In the morning he devours the prey. In the evening he is still sharing out the spoil. All these make up the tribes of Israel, 12 in number. And this is what their father said to them as he bade them farewell, giving each an appropriate blessing. Then he gave them these instructions. I am about to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my ancestors, in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave in the field at Machpelah, facing Mamre, in Canaan, which Abraham bought from Ephron the Hittite as a burial site of his own. There Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried. There Isaac and his wife Rebekah were buried. And there I buried Leah, the field and the cave in it which were bought from the Hittites. When Jacob had finished giving his instructions to his sons, he drew his feet up into the bed, and breathing his last was gathered to his people. Genesis chapter 50. At this Joseph threw himself on his father's face, covering it with tears and kisses. Then Joseph ordered the doctors in his service to embalm his father. The doctors embalmed Israel, and it took them 40 days, for embalming takes 40 days to complete. The Egyptians mourned him for 70 days. When the period of mourning for him was over, Joseph said to Pharaoh's household, If you have any affection for me, see that this message reaches Pharaoh's ears. My father put me under oath, saying, I am about to die. In the tomb which I dug for myself in Canaan, that is where you are to bury me. So may I have leave to go up and bury my father, and then come back? Pharaoh replied, Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear to do. Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went all Pharaoh's officials, the dignitaries of his palace and all the dignitaries of Egypt, as well as all Joseph's family, his brothers and his father's family. The only people they left behind in Goshen were those unfit to travel, and their flocks and cattle. Chariots and horsemen went up with him too. It was a very large retinue. On arriving at Garan-Haratad, which is across the Jordan, They there held a long and solemn lamentation, and Joseph observed 7 days' mourning for his father. When the Canaanites, the local inhabitants, witnessed the mourning at Goren-Haatad, they said, "This is a solemn act of mourning by the Egyptians," which is why the place was given the name Abel Mizraim. It is across the Jordan. His sons did what he had ordered them to do for him. His sons carried him to Canaan and buried him in the cave in the field at Machpelah, facing Mamre, which Abraham had bought from Ephron the Hittite as a burial site of his own. Then Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all those who had come up with him to bury his father. Seeing that their father was dead, Joseph's brothers said, "What if Joseph intends to treat us as enemies and pay us back for all the wrong we did him?" So they sent this message to Joseph, "Before your father died, he gave us this order. You are to say to Joseph, 'Now please forgive the crime and faults of your brothers and all the wrong they did you. So now please forgive the crime of the servants of your father's God.'" Joseph wept at the message they sent to him. Then his brothers went to him themselves and, throwing themselves at his feet, said, "Take us as your slaves." But Joseph replied, "Do not be afraid. Is it for me to put myself in God's place? The evil you plan to do me has by God's design been turned to good, to bring about the present result, the survival of a numerous people. So there is no need to be afraid. I shall provide for you and your dependents." In this way he reassured them by speaking affectionately to them. So Joseph stayed in Egypt with his father's family, and Joseph lived 110 years. Joseph saw the third generation of Ephraim's line, as also the children of Machir son of Manasseh, who were born on Joseph's lap. At length Joseph said to his brothers, "I am about to die, but God will be sure to remember you kindly and take you out of this country to the country which he promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." And Joseph put Israel's sons on oath, saying, "When God remembers you with kindness, be sure to take my bones away from here." Joseph died at the age of 110. He was embalmed and laid in a coffin in Egypt.